At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 926, Four Spirits. Liang Xiao's suggestion obviously made Li Xianyang dissatisfied. He snorted coldly and said, "Since we already know where the source of God is, why share it with others? In my opinion, let our elite soldiers sneak over and get the source of God directly. If it doesn't work, let Zuanwu go out. He can completely avoid the sonar search of the Colombian Navy without being noticed. At worst, we can wait until we get the source of God to give some compensation to the Jiangnan region. At that time, they have no other choice but to nod in agreement." Liang Xiao shook his head and sighed. "This is a bit risky. Our biggest enemy is the external force now. Why should we have such a deep conspiracy with our brothers?" Li Xianyang sneered and said, "Brothers still have to settle accounts openly. A family must also have seniority and inferiority." Li Guangxiu listened to the two arguing for a long time and made a decision in his heart. "Okay, don't argue anymore." He sat on the chair, stroking the corner of the table with his right hand, and made a decision after thinking for a long time. In 3 days, send people to send Team Rose and Chaos back to the Jiangnan area. Just say that we are protecting them for safety reasons. In addition, according to what Minister Li said, send people to take a submarine to enter the area between Malay Kingdom and Tsingtao to investigate. Make 2 preparations. As for Zuanwu, don't let him take action. Zuanwu has completely transformed into a giant sea turtle and spends most of his time sleeping on the bottom of the sea. Because every action it takes consumes huge amounts of energy. As the trump card of the Donghae region, Li Guangxiu would not easily use Zuanwu. Li Xianyang and Liang Xiao accepted the order and went to arrange their work separately. After Zhang Yi woke up, he immediately flew into a rage and shouted angrily that he wanted to see Li Guangxiu. He punched the sofa, making a deep hole in the sofa. "How dare you use torture methods on me? This is simply shameless. Extremely obscene. Is this still the practice of a large district?" As for Zhang Yi's attitude, the personnel responsible for guarding him could only pretend not to hear. Liang Simeo and the staff of the intelligence department were very embarrassed. If you used such despicable methods against your own people, if you used it in the past, you would have to go to a military court. But now is the time when some rules are no longer so clear. Zhang Yi's mood remained a little angry in the next few days. Personnel from the intelligence department no longer went over to question Zhang Yi. Just provide him with all the supplies he needs in life. 3 days passed in a flash. Chief of Staff Liang Xiao brought someone over and opened Zhang Yi's door. "Captain Chaos, how are you recuperating in our East China Sea region these days?" Liang Xiao asked with a smile. Zhang Yi glanced at him coldly, but did not reply. Liang Xiao did not feel dissatisfied at all, and said with a smile, "We are here to take you back. Please prepare, our special train will leave soon." Zhang Yi sat up from the sofa with an expressionless face, and walked towards the door. Not long after, he took a military vehicle, and arrived at the subway station of Donghae City. Ling Hufixu and Kaianglu's team had already arrived. In the compartment next door, Lao Shan and other crew members and passengers on the ship were sitting. Zhang Yi and Ling Hufixu looked at each other, their faces as cold as ice, and they said nothing. People from the Donghae region put them on special trains. Zhang Yi and Ling Hufixu, as captains, both enjoy a separate luxury carriage. Liang Xiao smiled and said, "It will take a week for the effects of the medicine on these people to wear off, so they will have to rest for a while after returning." Zhang Yi sat on the subway seat and had closed his eyes. Liang Xiao didn't care and counted the number of people. After confirming that there were no omissions, he told the people next to him, "The escort task is left to you. You must deliver our distinguished guests to Blizzard City safely. Don't worry, Chief of Staff. With us here, there won't be any problems." After the words fell, several people walked into the carriage. But after they appeared, Zhang Yi's instinct suddenly felt a strange feeling. That is the instinctive reaction when encountering powerful creatures. He looked up and saw 3 people in front of him, 2 men and 1 woman. One has long hair, a Chinese character face, and a strong build. He has a bald head, slightly pale skin, and extremely sharp narrow red eyes. There is also a woman with long hair with a hint of burgundy color, delicate face, and standing with her arms crossed. Zhang Yi immediately realized that these people were captain level experts. But it's no wonder that this escort mission is very critical. If something happens to Zhang Yi, Ling Hufixu and others along the way, I'm afraid Jiangnan region will completely break with Donghai region. It is not even impossible that a war will break out because of this matter one day in the future. Everyone, are you the investigation captain of the Donghai region? Zhang Yi asked lightly. The long-haired man shook his head. No, in our East China Sea region, there are only fleet commanders. I'm King Lang. They are White Tiger and Suzaku. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly. In the East China Sea region, the 4 more famous masters are King Lang, Beihu, Suzaku and Zuanwu among the 4 spirits. He has already met Zuanwu. He is a powerful Epsilon level master. Then the 3 people in front of him, even if they are not as terrifying as Zuanwu, are definitely top-notch strong men. The East China Sea region is so cautious that they actually asked 3 members of the 4 spirit fleet to escort us back. Ha. Zhang Yi said slightly sarcastically. Given his current situation, he should indeed be angry. The 3 of them didn't care about Zhang Yi's attitude. Several people sat down opposite Zhang Yi. Suzaku opened her mouth to speak. Her voice was as clear as a lark. No, this mission was not originally carried out by us. It's just that we are very curious about you, so we want to meet you. Beihu took out a bottle of white wine and 4 wine glasses from his pocket, while King Lang took out a lunchbox with some peanuts and fish skins in it. The strongest person in the Jiangnan region. This title will inevitably make people curious. It is better to say that we have admired your reputation for a long time. King Lang said with a smile. Beihu shrugged. I stopped by the Jiangnan area to see the scenery of Jiangnan. This can be considered a reasonable way to fish. Several people had smiles on their faces. Zhang Yi looked at the 3 of them and didn't know what these guys were going to do. But since he is here, he can just accompany him if he has any tricks. Since he wanted to drink, he would drink. Anyway, he has plenty of ways to divert the drinks. But soon, he discovered that he was worrying too much. These people all have very cheerful personalities. When talking to him, they mostly ask about some life experiences and also share each other's experiences in the apocalypse. Perhaps after reaching their level, they rarely meet people worth talking to. After all, there are very few people who are qualified to let them communicate. Zhang Yi could more or less feel their emotions. Looking at the Jiangnan region, everyone is in, or when they meet Zhang Yi now. How many people dare to have a drink with him? The last time he went to Blizzard City, he met Chen Xiaoxiao who dominated the city. She was so excited that she just wanted to run over and reminisce with Zhang Yi, but after taking a few steps closer, her expression suddenly changed. Zhang Yi clearly saw her bow down and call out Captain. Chapter 927 Provocation. After Zhang Yi chatted with the 3 of them, he felt that their personalities were very refreshing. Involuntarily, he also opened up the topic. However, he still deliberately mentioned the source of God. He pretended to be nonchalant and raised his glass. You have obtained the information about the source of God. I thought the Donghai region would send you there. Unexpectedly, you came to perform the escort mission. This is quite strange. Even if there is a source of God, it should be given to you first, right? There were confused looks on the 3 people's faces. The source of God. What it is? The expressions on the faces of the 3 people were very real and did not seem to be fake. The key is that, now that Zhang Yi has confessed everything, there is no need for them to lie. Zhang Yi secretly smiled in his heart. This was pretty much what he expected. If you are not a participant in the mission, you will not know the secret of the source of God. If he hadn't been going to the ocean to perform the mission, Zhu Zeng wouldn't have told him. There was a surprised look on his face. You don't know? Is it true? Then, he told all 3 people about the origin of God. That thing is said to allow people to break through the limitations of genes. To put it simply, it can cause aliens stuck at the delta level to produce secondary mutations, open the genetic lock, and open the door to Epsilon. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the three people changed instantly. Today, the three of them are already the top strangers in the East China Sea region. However, among the four spirits, there are still strict levels. Compared with Zuanwu, the gap between them is simply a day and a day. Sometimes, they even feel that they are just there to make up the numbers. It was only because Zuanwu Meng Yingchuan asked for that title that the other three were gathered together. It's not Epsilon. There's almost no way to fight back against the real Epsilon. Even if the three of them put together, it's not enough for Zuanwu to fight alone. Of course they hope to break the genetic constraints and become more powerful aliens. Zhang Yi drank a glass of wine. His eyes were a little blurred, and he said casually, "Don't worry, good steel should be used on the blade, not on the back. If the East China Sea region can obtain the source of God, it will definitely be used on one of the three of you. When the time comes, I have to congratulate him." Zhang Yi's words made the three of them feel an inexplicable emotion. Although they are not stupid, they know that Zhang Yi's words are deliberately intended to sow discord. But they cannot deny that what Zhang Yi said is the truth. If there was only one chance, who would give it up? At this time, Zhang Yi murmured, "But I can't say for sure. If there is such an opportunity, I believe there may not be only three people who hope to get the source of God. The Donghae region is full of talents. Although the three of you are the top experts in terms of talent, there may not be anyone who can match you." He chuckled. "To be honest, if I were Li Guangxiu, I would definitely give that thing to the people closest to me. After all, in the end of the world, only my own people can be trusted." King Long suddenly laughed. "Brother Chaos, what you said is a bit exaggerated. Commander Li is selfless, and everything is centered on the peace and stability of the East China Sea region and the important coastal defense affairs of Huax's state. He will definitely deal with it impartially." Zhang Yi nodded. Yes. I drank too much, haha." After he drank a glass of wine, the expressions of the three of them had already changed somewhat. Zhang Yi secretly smiled in his heart. It's quite interesting to discuss the Donghae region in this way. If in the future, the source of God is obtained by the East China Sea region and is not given to these three people, I'm afraid people will be scattered only. When he thought of the source of God, a coldness flashed deep in Zhang Yi's eyes. His original plan was to hand over the information to Zhu Zheng. Facing the Columbian Ocean Fleet at sea, it would be difficult to obtain that thing from the Jiangnan region alone. Even though Zhang Yi has space powers, he has always been cautious and unwilling to take risks. Spatial ability is not absolute. His previous encounter with Cartiers had already taught him a lesson. In front of a strong man with absolute strength, even he is in danger of being killed. Therefore, Zhang Yi feels that it is the best way for Jiangnan region and Donghae region to join forces. However, Donghae district chose the villain's behavior and imprisoned Zhang Yi. This made Zhang Yi very unhappy. As long as there is a chance, he must give Donghae region a try. Zhang Yi stopped talking and did not continue the conversation. It was enough to plant a seed in the hearts of the three of them. It took about half a day before they arrived at Blizzard City. The three of them were purely curious about Zhang Yi personally, so they came here to take advantage of the opportunity of seeing him off, to get to know each other. They had no other purpose. After dropping him off, they went back. The team that came to greet Zhang Yi and Kaianglu's team was more grand. For the first time, Zhu Zheng came to the station to pick someone up in person. Almost all the senior officials of the entire combat command center were present, and the surrounding area was heavily guarded. Zhang Yi got out of the car, and Zhu Zheng immediately came over and held his hands. "You have suffered during this time." Zhang Yi looked touched. "No hard work, just serve the region." Ling Hufixu and others also got out of the car, and Zhu Zheng arranged for someone to send the members of the Rose team and Liu Shan and others to the reception area to receive them happily. As for Ling Hufixu, Tu Yunli was in charge. Obviously, compared to Zhang Yi, Ling Hufixu's status was much lower. Zhu Zheng took Zhang Yi's hand and got into the car and drove towards the combat command center. The person driving the car was none other than First Guard Sun Luxun. Sun Luxuan was driving in the front, and Zhu Zeng and Zhang Yi were sitting in the back seat. He said to Zhang Yi in a deep voice, "Did you receive any bad treatment in Donghae region?" Zhang Yi said calmly, "I injected compound number 3 to seal my powers. It will take another week for the effect of the medicine in my body to dissipate. Now I'm just an ordinary person. Moreover, they asked me to drink Veritaserum, and I told them the location of the source of God." Zhu Zeng's face suddenly darkened. "What a Li Guangxiao, he actually did this to me." Zhang Yi looked at Zhu Zeng. "What are you going to do?" "I'm afraid they will get there first." Zhu Zeng frowned deeply. "Now that your ability is blocked, our combat power is insufficient. This is a big problem. The inhibitor is too powerful, and there is no way to remove it. But don't worry, I won't let this matter go. Haha, if the Donghae region wants to eat alone, I will never agree." Zhang Yi nodded. "I believe you have your own arrangements. But I'm too tired now, and want to go back, and have a good rest. Do you think that's okay?" After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he closed his eyes, looking tired. Zhu Zeng looked at him with some distress. Then Zhu Zeng let out a long sigh. "Thank you so much. You should have a good rest. Don't worry, just stay in Blizzard City. No one can affect you anymore. I will provide you with the best recuperation environment." Chapter 928 Subtle Changes in Blizzard City. Zhang Yi spent nearly 5 months wandering at sea during this trip. During this period of time, he experienced too many things and even passed by the edge of death. If you were a little unlucky and met Cartius, you would probably have been buried in the sea long ago. Even a leader like Zhu Zeng can't ask for more from Zhang Yi. He only thinks Zhang Yi is a good comrade. Zhang Yi shook his head. "I'm so tired, and I just want to be with my family." Zhu Zeng nodded. "Yes, what you need most now is the warmth of your family. Well, you rest here for a day, and I will have someone take you back tomorrow. In addition, for this mission, I can give you 20 billion points. You can freely exchange them for items." Zhang Yi raised his eyelids, including compound number 3. After using the drug that could suppress aliens, he became interested in it once. That thing is awesome. If applied properly, it can be very effective. Of course, it is not realistic to inject this drug into the enemy during battle. But there's always a chance to use it, right? Zhu Zeng smiled slightly. "That is a banned drug. In principle, if it is not a special operation, even the captain level cannot obtain it." He raised a finger. "But this time, I can make an exception for you. You can redeem up to 3 copies of compound number 3. Zhang Yi nodded. The two people came to Zhu Zeng's office, and Zhang Yi informed Zhu Zeng of the location of the source of God. At this time, the East China Sea region had already begun sending people to Star Island. After Zhu Zeng heard this, he fell into deep thought. Star Island, that place is not ideal. It is now under the control of the Colombian Navy. Zhang Yi shrugged. Which sea area is not the same? Except for the internal sea of Huaxu, the ocean area is basically controlled by the Colombian Navy. Because the ocean fleet is blockaded around the waters of Huaxu Kingdom. If they want to cross this chain, they must collide head-on with the ocean fleet. Zhu Zeng nodded. This is not necessarily a bad thing. At least, it is not so easy to succeed in the East China Sea region. He planned to have a good talk with Li Guangxiao later. The two chatted for a while about what happened at sea. Zhang Yi told Zhu Zeng everything. One of the things made Zhu Zeng very happy. That is, after a series of battles, and absorbing the origins of Findragon and Millet, Zhang Yi's power index has been greatly improved. According to Zhang Yi's estimate, it should be around 9,800 points. Okay, this is really great news. Hahaha, our Jiangnan region will soon have its own Epsilon. Zhu Zeng smiled very happily. He walked over, patted Zhang Yi on the shoulder, and looked at him with kind eyes. Zhang Yi, you are my key training target in Jiangnan region. I will use all my resources to help you improve your level as soon as possible. Zhang Yi shook his head. Currently, it seems that only aliens or beasts above the captain level, or the so-called source of gods, can help me. Others are difficult to help. Zhu Zeng pondered for a moment, frowned slightly and said, this is indeed a problem. But don't worry, as long as there is a suitable opportunity, you will be the best candidate. Zhang Yi nodded without thinking much. Just eat the pie that your leader paints, but don't take it too seriously. Then he mentioned ZHU Yunk's matter again. Ms. ZHU's performance at sea is very good, and she has always cooperated well with my work. She worked too hard, and was accidentally captured by thieves, and suffered some abuse. Zhang Yi looked at ZHU Zheng. I'm a little worried about her physical condition. ZHU Zheng frowned. He still valued this niece very much. Zhang Yi was very good at talking, and gave him enough face to facilitate ZHU Yunk's gold plating. However, the fact that ZHU Yunk was captured made him somewhat worried. But Zhang Yi cannot be blamed for this matter. Under those conditions, apart from Zhang Yi, no one in the entire Jiangnan region could escape unscathed. At the very least, ZHU Yunk saved his life, and did not lose his arms or legs. You have done your best, as long as she is still alive. Zhang Yi nodded, and said to himself, now that I can keep her coming back safely, you can't find anything wrong with me. The two chatted casually for a few words, and then Zhang Yi stood up and left. He knew that ZHU Zheng still had a lot of things to be busy with. For example, he still had to communicate with the Donghae region. And his work has been reported, so it doesn't take up much of ZHU Zheng's time. Zhang Yi left ZHU Zheng's office. Everyone who saw Zhang Yi along the way was extremely respectful. Zhang Yi smiled and nodded at them. But slowly, he discovered a strange phenomenon. In the new Combat Command Center building, it seems that the number of aliens has increased. There were many strange people in the past, but now the number has at least doubled. He raised his eyebrows and said to himself, maybe Leo ZHU was afraid of being assassinated, so he strengthened his defense. After going downstairs, he saw Tu Yunli coming from the corridor. Zhang Yi greeted him, Mr. Tu, long time no see. Tu Yunli immediately frowned. Chaos, please call me by my code name when working. Call me ZHU Rang. Zhang Yi touched his nose and said, wish you, Minister, long time no see. Tu Yunli sounded awkward, but he didn't correct him. I heard that you were injected with compound number 3. You'd better be careful during this period, and don't leave your residence casually. Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. Thank you for your concern. He looked around, and found no sign of Linghu Fixu, so he couldn't help but ask, where is Guan Han? Tu Yunli said angrily, she performed her mission poorly and was captured. According to military regulations, she needs to be detained for a week. Zhang Yi's heart sank slightly. Can being captured by the East China Sea region be considered a prisoner? Tu Yunli said. Fortunately, she was captured by the East China Sea region. If she fell into the hands of the Colombians, it would not be as easy as a week of confinement. Our attitude towards prisoners has always been so strict. Zhang Yi rolled his eyes and said quietly, in that case, I'm too. No, you are different. You brought back important information, and Tu Yunli stared at Zhang Yi. You are ZHU Shuo's savior. These words seem to explain a lot of things. There was a playful smile on Zhang Yi's lips, but he didn't delve into anything further. He waved goodbye to Tu Yunli and then left the Combat Command Center, intending to go to Bailey Changqing to find out if anything had happened in the Jiangnan region during his absence in the 5 months. At the same time, he also sent a message to Liang Yu, asking her to come to Blizzard City to pick him up. Chapter 929 Population Increase. Zhang Yi left the Combat Command Center, and ZHU Zheng asked someone to give him a car. He called Bailey Changqing, and learned that Bailey Changqing was training at this time. Upon learning that Zhang Yi wanted to see him, Bailey Changqing immediately said that he would come over immediately. The two met at the same place, at the password bar. More than half an hour later, the two people arrived in the private room of the password bar. But this time, Zhang Yi also experienced the treatment given to Gao Changkang. Drinks are free, and there is also a VVVIP membership card. At this time, he seemed to be the biggest star in Blizzard City. Zhang Yi doesn't have much feeling about this. Things like reputation go as quickly as they come. But having said that, it's quite cool to enjoy it. When I met Bailey Changqing, he knew the rules quite well. He first asked Zhang Yi if it was not convenient to tell him what he had done during this period. Zhang Yi said calmly, I have gone to sea, and it is useless to tell you the specific contents of the mission. This is true. The source of God does not mean much to the Vice Captain Bailey Changqing. Even if he gets it, he won't use it on him. Tell me about anything interesting happening in the Jiangnan region recently. Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing clinked their glasses, drank half a martini and said, "You've been gone for too long." Bailey Changqing took a deep breath and seemed quite emotional. "During your absence, we did not receive any complicated tasks. We spend most of the time training in Blizzard City. However, there is one thing that has a big impact." He touched his chin. "Recently, Blizzard City has begun to recruit people on a large scale, bringing in a large number of survivors from the outside world. Now the population of Blizzard City has reached 300 million. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. "Has the resource problem been solved? Without enough resources, it is simply impossible to sustain a large population. Food and energy are the two core issues." Bailey Changqing said, "There has indeed been some improvement in this area, and it is all thanks to the Deng Group and the Scientific Research Department. Anyway, I can see new people coming into the city every day recently. Even the number of strangers has increased." He spread his hands and said, "This is also the normal development in the last days. After the region has passed through the period of chaos, it will definitely usher in a stable situation. Slowly, humans will adapt to the end of the world, survive, and thrive." Zhang Yi nodded. "This is a good thing. Otherwise, it's still the same, so there's nothing strange about it." Bailey Changqing said. Zhang Yi understood the current situation and had no more gains. However, Bailey Changqing's words made him curious about the current state of Blizzard City. 5 months have passed, which is enough time for Blizzard City to undergo earth-shaking changes. It is even possible to give birth to more powerful aliens. After all, he is not the only one making progress. Everyone else is also working hard to move forward. Moreover, new powerful aliens may appear. Zhang Yi looked at his watch and saw that it would still be some time before Liang Yu arrived in Blizzard City, so he picked up a bottle of wine and asked Bailey Changqing to take him to the city for a visit. Bailey Changqing nodded, and the two left the bar. Bailey Changqing drove. Zhang Yi sat in the passenger seat, opened the window, and let the icy cold wind blow on his combat uniform. The strong alcohol entered his throat and his body felt very warm. Bailey Changqing took Zhang Yi around Blizzard City. Sure enough, the population increased. Compared with the desolation at the beginning, it is now lively. When he came to the construction building in Area E, Zhang Yi happened to see a group of ragged survivors who had just been brought here by soldiers. But very suddenly, Zhang Yi saw a flash of red light, which instantly made him open his somewhat apprehensive eyes. The survivors lined up to receive some fruits from a staff member. Red fruit, blood red. Isn't this thing the fruit of the blood vine? Zhang Yi's eyes became a little sharp. But Bailey Changqing said naturally, "Yes, although the blood vine was destroyed, we intercepted some of the roots and brought them back. Unexpectedly, the Ministry of Science and Technology used technical means to cultivate it into a new type of food." Zhang Yi glanced at Bailey Changqing. "This plant is poisonous." Bailey Changqing chuckled. "Don't underestimate the methods of professionals. That kind of thing has been solved long ago. What about the energy source of the blood vine? I remember that the original blood vine used corpses to obtain energy and bear fruit." Bailey Changqing rubbed her nose. "Well, Zhang Yi, you have to know that the most important thing for us now is to keep more people alive. So." He gave Zhang Yi an ambiguous look. Zhang Yi understood immediately. They cannot tolerate cannibalism. However, if the corpses of the deceased are used as nutrients to make food, it will not be so difficult for people to accept. Most importantly, it can also prevent prion infection. "That's right, I won't eat it anyway," Zhang Yi said. "I won't eat it either. This thing will only be provided to the survivors who have newly joined Blizzard City, that is, the people in Area E," Bailey Changqing said casually. Suddenly, Liang Yu's voice came from Zhang Yi's communication device. "Zhang Yi, I'm in Blizzard City. Where are you?" Zhang Yi smiled slightly and said, "Wait at the subway station for a while, I'll be right over." Zhang Yi glanced at Bailey Changqing. "Let's go, take me to the subway station." Bailey Changqing asked, "Don't you want to stay in Blizzard City for a while? That friend of yours likes to come here." To be honest, the service industry in Blizzard City is booming now, and many of the employees are stars in the past, he said with an ambiguous expression. After all, this is the only value they can provide. There are too many people in Blizzard City, and it is impossible to make everyone abstinent. Therefore, this oldest industry still needs someone to do it. But now, this kind of industry has become public, and everyone is trying to survive, which is understandable. I do not need. Zhang Yi waved his hand. He usually gets car sick, and doesn't like taking the bus. A private car is more suitable for his shape. Bailey Changking curled his lips. If you change your mind next time, you can come to me, and I will show you the way. Zhang Yi laughed loudly. You should keep it for yourself. The two of them showed smiles that all men understand. Bailey Changking stepped on the accelerator, and the car drove towards the subway station. Soon after, Zhang Yi arrived at the subway station. Liang Yu was wearing a silver-gray combat uniform, holding Longming in his arms, standing on the steps waiting for him. As soon as she saw Zhang Yi, she walked over quickly. Although her tone was a little cold, there was clearly unconcealable worry in her eyes. Didn't you say you would be back soon? Why did you go so long? And you can't get in touch? Do you know that we are worried to death? There was a little accident. I'll tell you more carefully when I get back. Zhang Yi smiled and put his arm around her shoulders, bid farewell to Bailey Changking with one hand, and then walked into the subway station with his arms around her. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 930, Rest for a while. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu got on the subway and left Blizzard City to return to Xianhai City. As for the other people on the ship, they stayed in Blizzard City. They are all involved in this secret mission, so they need to be questioned by Blizzard City. Zhang Yi has already leaked the secret of the source of God to the East China Sea region, so other things no longer matter to him. It was a routine matter in Blizzard City, and he had no objection. Only this time, when he went back, he was surprisingly silent. He has been sitting silently on the chair with his arms folded, his eyes without any light, seeming to be deep in thought. Liang Yu frowned slightly when he saw this. She sat down next to Zhang Yi with concern, coughed slightly, and asked, "Did something troublesome happen?" Zhang Yi raised his head and glanced at her, his expression indifferent. "That's not really true." He let out a long sigh and wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. For a long time, he has claimed to be a Buddhist person and never likes to compete with others for something. As long as I can live a happy and stable life, that's all. But this time he went to sea, which caused a lot of fluctuations in his heart. People who are not strong enough cannot stand in this cruel world. It sounds nice. The Donghai region is an ally, and ZHU Zheng originally promised Li Guangxiu that it would be okay, even if he gave them the information about the source of God. But that feeling still made Zhang Yi feel a little uncomfortable. Especially after experiencing the incident where Li Xianyang forced him to drink Veritaserum, he felt even more humiliated. And all this is just because he is not strong enough. That's it. Maybe, I really have to change my way of living. Zhang Yi muttered to himself. Liang Yu blinked and asked curiously, "What kind of lifestyle do you want to change?" Zhang Yi smiled and shook his head. "I don't know either. Maybe I will understand slowly." Still on the train at this time, Zhang Yi would not reveal his feelings casually, because there must be monitoring equipment in this car. Keeping your mouth shut quietly is the best option. Zhang Yi closed his eyes and stopped talking. Liang Yu had no choice but to be like him. Not long after, the two returned to Xianhai City and arrived at Xiaomiaoshan subway station, which they had not seen for a long time. The two people walked out of the subway. Zhang Yi felt a little uncomfortable as he felt the power in his body being suppressed. But fortunately, different spaces can still be summoned. Zhang Yi took out a snowmobile and returned to the shelter with Liang Yu. After Zhang Yi returned home, everyone was waiting for his return with a little worry. Seeing that he was safe and sound, everyone breathed a long sigh of relief. "Brother Zhang Yi, why did you suddenly lose contact?" Yang Xingxing came over and asked with a worried look. "Did any accident happen outside?" Zhang Yi sighed. "It's hard to describe. He returned to the house, changed out of his combat uniform, put on his casual clothes, and sat cross-legged on the sofa with his bare feet, drinking hot coffee brought by Yang Xia, while telling them about his experiences in the past few days. When it was learned that Zhang Yi fought with the Xianlang pirates one after another, and encountered Epsilon of the Colombian Navy, and was finally taken away by the East China Sea region and interrogated, everyone was scared and angry. This is simply too much. Zhang Yi, you are a hero, and have brought back extremely important information. They actually did this to you. Even Uncle Yu, a veteran, feels shameful about Donghai region's behavior. They actually imprisoned you, and gave you Veritaserum. This is definitely a serious crime, that will lead to a military court. Zhang Yi laughed disapprovingly, when he heard this. Times have changed a long time ago. Each of the 6 regions has great jurisdiction. For something like the source of God, it is worth what they do. Now that the mission is over, Zhang Yi no longer hides the existence of the source of God from everyone, and it is very easy to talk about it. Fatty Zhu held his big face and sighed. It's really frustrating. The most important thing is that the East China Sea region has obtained the information about the source of God, so it must have been the first to get there. These words really made everyone feel unhappy. Zhang Yi worked hard at sea for 5 months, and finally brought back information about the source of God. As a result, Donghai region picked the fruit. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. You can't say that. If the East China Sea region didn't hold back the main force of the Colombian Navy on the front, I'm afraid it would be difficult for me to bring everyone back from the sea. Besides, he crossed his arms and looked darkly. I put smoke bombs for them, which was enough to delay them for a certain amount of time. It's not that simple to cross the blockade of the Colombian Navy and find the source of God under their noses. Uncle Yu swallowed his saliva and hesitated to speak. But after looking at the other people in the room, he lowered his head and suppressed his thoughts. In fact, it was not just him. Many people in the room had this idea. Today's Zhang Yi has an ability index of around 9800 points. It is a certainty that he will officially reach Epsilon level combat power in the future. But what about others? The gap with Zhang Yi will only widen. But if they can get the source of God, maybe they all have a chance to achieve a breakthrough. Even Huahe jumped onto Zhang Yi's lap, raised her head, and looked at him eagerly, her eyes full of longing. Zhang Yi smiled and reached out to stroke its head. This matter will not end so easily. It will never be so easy for the East China Sea region to obtain the source of God. There was something extraordinary surging in his eyes. A few days later, Lao Shan, Li Zhangyu and others were sent back. Zhang Yi had already told ZHU Zheng the most critical information. The others were only routinely investigated, and in fact no more useful information could be obtained. ZHU Zheng sent people back as promised to increase the population of Xianhai City, and Yang Xingxin will naturally be responsible for arranging all this, so it's no problem. Zhao Keller is responsible for picking people up. When seeing Lao Shan, Zhao Keller asked, do you know how ZHU Yang is doing now? When Lao Shan heard this, a strange expression appeared on his face. He scratched his messy hair and said, when we were in the Donghai region, we lived not far from her. I heard from the medical staff that there seemed to be something wrong with her brain. Lao Shan pointed to his temple. Here, because he was hit by high voltage current, he is going crazy now. Zhao Ke sighed slightly in his heart. If ZHU Yang hadn't been so troublesome and had left more favorable impressions on Zhang Yi, none of this would have happened today. Because in that case, Zhang Yi would definitely go back to save Zhao Ke as soon as possible after sending her back. But now, who can be blamed? She can only blame herself for being ignorant. P.S. Chapter 12 will be released in advance. Please click for free gifts and try your best to keep the top spot on the list. There are still 10 chapters posted after o'clock. For the sake of perfect attendance, at a point no matter what time it is posted. Thank you everyone for your support. Chapter 931 Recall. During the week, when Zhang Yi went home to recuperate, no one was idle. ZHU Zheng urgently recalled all the investigation teams out in the entire Jiangnan region. Any urgent task becomes less urgent in front of the key item, Source of God, that allows people to advance to Epsilon. On this day, an unkempt figure wearing a tattered cloak appeared in front of the huge 30-meter high wall of Blizzard City. Through the long eyelashes, a look of deep emotion looked at the city wall that seemed to never be breached, and soon turned into a deep sigh. He walked to the city gate. Under the huge city gate, there is a small door that can accommodate one person through. Before people get close, they are already warned by the voice of the robot. Stop anyone coming. Please verify your identity. The man thought for a moment, took out a golden card from his pocket, and then raised it. Soon, the robot completed the recognition of the incoming person. The captain of the Xianshan team, Deng Shentong, codename, Erlang Shen. The defenders couldn't believe their eyes. The once aloof and arrogant investigation captain, the noble son of Jiangnan, is now dressed like a beggar. But there would be no problem with the robot's verification. They hurriedly opened the door and went to greet him. It has been several months since Deng Shentong left Blizzard City. He did not bring any of his men with him, nor did he report his whereabouts to the Deng family. Just one person, going to the most dangerous area of Jiangnan region to experience. For the first time in his life, he realized the cruelty of the end of the world. Walking alone in the vast ice and snow, I experienced the crisis of death several times. Even the most ridiculous time was when he was resting in a cave and was almost killed by a beta-level poisonous snake. If he hadn't carried the antidote with him, he might have become the captain with the funniest death method in the Jiangnan region. He did not expect that cold-blooded animals would still come out in the cold season. But soon, he realized the crux of the problem. The era of great mutation had arrived, and the world was completely unable to think using the logic of the past. There are crises everywhere outside. When a person walks outside, he is walking on thin ice. No matter how powerful he is, he cannot guarantee that he is absolutely invincible. This created a feeling of fear in his heart. I also quickly understood why there were strange people like Zhang Yi. Months of hard training have brought about great changes in his state of mind, and also completely changed his fighting style and fighting philosophy. Life and death fights, most of the time, rely on more than just personal strength. Calculation, circumstance, and even luck are all key factors. Just like in the Colosseum, even without fangs and claws, adult bison can use their brute force and sharp horns to kill lions and tigers. Deng Shentong saw the city guards and greeted them with a smile. Such a friendly attitude even made the city guards a little uncomfortable. The leader of the city guard hurriedly asked people to arrange vehicles to take Deng Shentong into the city. Deng Shentong did not refuse. He wanted to go to the new combat command center first to meet Zhu Zeng. After Deng Shentong left, the leader of the city guard suddenly sighed. This is the fourth one. All the captains who are outside are here now. Here in Donghe region. According to Li Guangxiu's order, Li Xianyang arranged an elite investigation team to go to the sea between Xingdao and Malay Kingdom to investigate the source of God. The funny thing is that they did not believe the real destination Zhang Yi provided them straightforwardly, but believed the smoke screen. The result, of course, was nothing. Since the area is close to the Malay Kingdom, their submarines did not dare to surface. Therefore, the investigation cannot last too long. Li Xianyang believes that, just because the sea area is large, it is understandable that the results will not be available for a while. He had no doubts about what Zhang Yi said to him later. After all, Zhang Yi didn't have any powers at that time, and he drank a dose of truth serum that humans would never be able to resist. And the other side, the Xianlang pirates. Zhang Yi and Ling Hufixu teamed up to destroy the Dragon King's Mirage Dragon clone, and also killed his most capable subordinate, Captain Millet. This made the Dragon King extremely angry. Before he died, Nero told him the news he had learned from Zhu Yang. Although he did not know the location of the source of God, Zhu Yang also vaguely knew that there was something very important located where Li Zhangyi had been. Combined with Li Zhangyi's identity as a teacher at Xingdao Noble School, this made the Heavenly Dragon King realize that the source of God was probably on Star Island. However, although Star Island is small, it is still a country. It is also extremely difficult to find a source of energy in a country. But for the Heavenly Dragon King, the source of God is something he must get. Because he has lost too much, now there is a huge crisis of strength. When encountering transcendent forces like Columbia or Huaxu, he could only be at the mercy of others. and if he wants to change this situation, he must break his own limitations and be promoted to an epsilon level alien. Once he succeeds, even the transcendent forces will change their attitude towards him. Therefore, the Heavenly Dragon King also gathered a group of elite men and began to think of ways to move towards Star Island. When the outside world is turbulent, what is Zhang Yi doing? Compound number 3 has a 1-week sustained release period. During this time, he stayed at home, playing with cats and walking dogs. Yes, he has an extra dog in his house. The dog was raised by crossing Shan's goddaughter Zhao Lingling, but it was at Zhang Yi's home at this time. After organisms mutate, they seem to become smarter than usual. Huahua's IQ is no less than that of humans. Lel seems a little dumber, but can already understand human language. Luke Karen helped them create a set of translation tools. In fact, it is a device that receives their brain waves and then converts them into language. As a result, Huahua and Lel both had a black scarf-like translation device on their necks. Huahua was still lazing all day long, stretching out and lying on the carpet in front of the burning fireplace. Lel is a big dog, and its ability is only at the gamma level, which is far behind Huahua. Therefore, it knows its status very well at home, and tries its best to please everyone. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, with Lel lying under his feet as his footrest. Lel, your name is a bit too childish. I think at this time, it is not powerful enough to say it. How about you change your name to Black Panther? Wang Wang. Lel called twice, but her big head kept shaking from side to side, obviously dissatisfied with the name. My name is Lel. This is the name given to me by my master. Whether you like it or not, my name is Lel. Zhang Yi supported his chin with the back of his hand, but in the future, when you go out to fight with others, I'm afraid that they will laugh to death after you announce your identity. Chapter 932 I will act like a lone wolf. No matter what Zhang Yi said, Lel was unwilling to change her name. Although dogs have lower IQ than humans, their loyalty is unmatched by humans. Zhao Lingling is its owner, so Zhao Lingling calls it Lel, and he only recognizes this name. Even if Zhang Yi is very powerful, he still fears him, but the basic principles cannot be abandoned. Zhang Yi smiled and rubbed its big head with his foot. This thing is really big. The key is that it can't deform like Huahua. So on weekdays, it is just that big in the room, like an oversized black plush toy, and it has its own thermal insulation function point. To be honest, it's quite fun. At this moment, Zhang Yi's satellite phone rang. Zhang Yi picked it up and saw that it was a video call from ZHU Zheng. There was a playful look in his eyes. Now a week has passed, and his powers have completely returned to their original state. The purpose of ZHU Zheng's search for him was naturally to act for the source of God in Tsingdao. Zhang Yi knew that the Donghae region wasted too much time in that wrong place, and later he slowly came around to it. But obviously, it would be extremely difficult for them to monopolize it, because no one is sure about the movements of the Colombian Navy. Zhang Yi answered the phone, and the video showed ZHU Zheng's always kind face to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, how have you been resting recently? Are you feeling better? Are there any sequelae? Zhang Yi said calmly, I think so. I have been feeling weak these past few days. I can't find the energy to do anything, so I just want to lie down at home. As soon as ZHU Zheng heard this, he knew that Zhang Yi was okay. He smiled and said, now that your body has recovered, hurry up and come to Blizzard City. I'm waiting for you now. The investigation captains of Blizzard City have already returned, and they are just waiting for Zhang Yi to go back, start a combat meeting, and then decide on the next move. Hearing the words combat meeting, Zhang Yi suddenly sneezed for some reason, and felt a chill in his back. He frowned and asked, didn't the East China Sea region succeed? It's too late for us to leave now. And without the assistance of the East China Sea region, we simply can't break through the blockade of the Colombian Navy. ZHU Zheng said with a smile, this time, God is helping us. Most areas of Star Island, especially around Foggy Valley, are shrouded in the inexplicable huge fog. It covers more than 6 cities and more than 2 square kilometers. Most of the country is shrouded in fog. This kind of fog cannot be detected through satellite penetration, and it is very toxic. If you want to explore it, you can only use primitive means. Therefore, the Donghai region has not found a good method in a short period of time. Haha, they are asking for trouble now. They wasted time there, and they also attracted the attention of the Colombian Navy because they made a fuss. So this time, they took the initiative to come to us for cooperation, to form a joint armed force, to enter Star Island, to find the source of God. Zhang Yi was not surprised at all when he heard the news. Foggy Valley was originally a dangerous area shrouded in miasma all year round. Now that we have the source of God, any changes will not be surprising. But, cooperating with the Donghai region. Haha. Zhang Yi sneered, his face full of disdain, and a hint of disgust flashed deep in his eyes. Zhu Zheng knew that Zhang Yi still resented Donghai region for his rude behavior towards him. He quickly reassured Zhang Yi, this is an extraordinary moment. I know that the Donghai region has done very offensive things to you. But right now, cooperating with them is our best choice. If you really want to express this, the only way is to make yourself stronger. Believe me, mountains and rivers meet. When you are strong enough, sooner or later, they will ask you for help. At that time, it is your chance to take revenge. Not now. Because we are indeed inferior to them in terms of strength. Zhang Yi was silent for a moment and sighed. I understand. I will rush to Blizzard City immediately and follow the arrangements of the headquarters. Zhu Zheng nodded happily. That's right. When you go out, you give yourself face. There is no point in sulking when you are poor. After the two ended the call, the angry and unwilling expression on Zhang Yi's face immediately disappeared. Donghai region. This time I have plenty of time, so I can have fun with you. He looked at Oahu on the sofa and Lel on the carpet, and raised his eyebrows. We should go. Zhang Yi said goodbye to his family. This time, he didn't bring anyone with him, but a cat and a dog. But no one in the family raised any objections. Luke Karen sent equipment to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi checked it carefully. Every detail of the brand new combat uniform was not missed. To describe this combat uniform as being armed to the teeth would be an underestimation. It could even be said that it is armed to the teeth. It's time for a trip. Zhang Yi said goodbye to everyone in the family and got into the car with only Huahe. As for Lel, because she is too big, she can only run next to her. But this is no problem for it, as it runs through the snow as fast as the wind. Watching Zhang Yi and go, everyone in the family had different expressions in their eyes. Liang Yu's eyes were slightly lonely, but she soon felt relieved. Zhang Yi naturally had his own considerations if he didn't take her there. And this time the task of competing for the source of God is of great importance. I'm afraid captain level figures will be dispatched on a large scale. Even if she followed him, she would be in great danger. This is true for her, let alone others. There was a hint of almost crazy excitement in Yang Xingxin's eyes. This time, brother, give them some surprises. Zhang Yi brought Oahu and Lel to Jiangnan district. Before he had time to rest, Bailey Changqing came over to greet him immediately. After all, Zhang Yi is now nominally the captain of the Tengu team, and Bailey Changqing and others are his subordinates. Captain, you are here. Zhu Shui asked you to go to the combat command center and said that, as soon as you arrive, a high-level meeting will be started immediately. By then, all the captains of the investigation team will participate. Zhang Yi nodded. Yes, I understand. Bailey Changqing looked at Zhang Yi's side with some surprise, but did not see any sign of Liang Yu, Yang Xingxin, Zhao Kera and others. I only saw a very big dog and a black tabby cat lying on its head. You didn't bring anyone here this time? Bailey Changqing asked curiously. Zhang Yi said calmly, there is no point in bringing more people on this mission. The headquarters can send more people there. Because searching for the source of God requires a large number of people to conduct it in the most primitive way. But Zhang Yi would not let those around him take risks. Chapter 933 Operation Star Island Operation Meeting. Bailey Changqing didn't dare to ask too many questions. He didn't know anything about the source of God, but judging from the current situation in Blizzard City, something big was about to happen. You know, even when the eclipse caused a headache for the Jiangnan region, there was no such large-scale recall of all investigation teams. Bailey Changqing drove Zhang Yi to the combat command center. When he entered the hall, he passed by a man wearing a thick military coat. The two people glanced at each other at the same time. The man's face was wearing a white mask, and his true appearance could not be seen clearly. His slender body was completely covered by a dark brown military coat. Zhang Yi smelled an extremely strong smell of blood from his body. Bailey Changqing hurried over and said, "Captain, he is the captain of the iron-blooded team, Li Long." Bailey Changqing looked at the man's expression full of fear, as if he didn't want to get too close to him. However, Li Long seemed to realize who Zhang Yi was when he heard the conversation between the two. He touched his hat with his hand and nodded to Zhang Yi. "Are you the captain of the Tengu Team Chaos? I have admired you for a long time." The voice was hoarse, as if coming from a rusty paint bucket. Zhang Yi nodded. "Mr. Liling, nice to meet you." Before the two of them had time to talk, a black-haired beauty in professional attire came over and said with a smile, "Captain Chaos, Captain Liling, and everyone else are already here. Please come to the conference room." Zhang Yi nodded and followed the black-haired beauty. Bailey Changqing was only the vice captain and was not qualified to participate in this high-level meeting, so he stayed below and waited. But when passing by the front desk, Zhang Yi heard a somewhat familiar voice, which seemed to be arguing with someone. He couldn't help but glance over there. It turned out to be an army officer who was declaring activity funds, but it seemed that for some reason, he got into a quarrel with the clerk in charge. "We are all working for the region. Do you need to make things difficult for others? We risk our lives every day when we go on missions, but you are stuck here with a few typists and are not allowed to pass. You are simply going too far. I'm going to report you to the superiors." But the woman in grey uniform with a strange expression showed a strange smile. She tilted her head. "If you want to sue me. You don't think people will be afraid, do you? I'm more shameless than you think." What a fun guy. Zhang Yi was slightly startled. He didn't expect that Zhu Young would now go to the command center and work as a front desk clerk. But looking at her appearance always makes people doubt her mental state. If Zhang Yi hadn't understood that she had been severely tortured in the hands of pirates, he would have even thought that Zhu Young had sucked it. And Zhu Young in this state obviously no longer meets Zhu Zeng's standards for cultivating confidence. If he is thrown into this position, he will most likely be given up. But now, she can only live by making things difficult for others. After all, as a relative who was devolved from the leadership, others could not take her too seriously. Finally, Zhang Yi saw the Yan Yunwei officer leaving angrily. He shrugged. The world is unpredictable. Zhang Yi and Li Long got on the elevator going to the upper floor. After a while, they arrived at the conference room. Most of the people sitting here are old faces. Tu Yunli, Deng Shentong, Deng Yuanbo, Zhu Zeng and others were all there. Ling Hu Fixu, like him, also appeared at the scene after the effects of Compound No. 3 wore off. Although there is a shame of being captured, the Jiangnan region is now employing people and allows her to perform meritorious service. However, there were two faces at the scene, and Zhang Yi was indeed very unfamiliar. Sitting not far from Deng Shentong, there was a guy with white hair and a cold face, but not scary, because he looks a bit handsome, and he looks to be only 16 or 17 years old, so he looks like a middle school student. Opposite him, sitting dignifiedly was a woman with grey hair, wearing a black uniform, and her eyes were covered with black cloth. Zhang Yi couldn't help but wonder. One of these two people must be the captain of the devil team. But who is the other person? While Zhang Yi looked at everyone was also looking at him. Zhang Yi is now the most powerful person officially recognized by the Jiangnan region. Although the alien strength and ability index cannot be absolutely linked, Zhang Yi saved Zhu Zeng's life and forced Gao Changkang to retreat, making him the most recognized master. It's hard to say whether the captains here think so. People are afraid of being famous, but others are afraid of being strong. It is only natural that Zhang Yi will be noticed. When Zhu Zeng saw Zhang Yi, he smiled and said, "Chaos and Liling, come and sit down quickly. I'm waiting for you." Strictly speaking, this meeting was mainly about waiting for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's position is to Zhu Zeng's left hand, closest to him. After Zhang Yi sat down, Zhu Zeng first introduced the two newcomers to him. The handsome white-haired boy is the captain of the Demon Squad, codenamed Teoti. The mysterious woman with the black eye patch is the captain of a newly formed team, Nightcrow Squad. Her code name is Jingwei. A newly formed team? Have you discovered a new captain so quickly? Zhang Yi suddenly realized that in the 5 months since he left Jiangnan region, this place had undergone earth-shaking changes. It is normal for things to change and people to change. Zhang Yi did not dwell on this and just asked lightly. The meeting started in such a hurry. Did you get any news? ZHU Zheng nodded. Basically, everyone present already knows the situation. The operation in the East China Sea region failed, and there was also friction with the Colombian Navy. The situation is not optimistic. It is even possible that the Colombian Navy will also discover the location of the source of God. The region has decided to join forces with the Donghae region to find the source of God. Hearing these words, everyone couldn't help but frown. If the Colombian Navy is allowed to obtain the source of God, it means that they will have 2 Epsilon level strangers. That is not good news for the entire Huaxu kingdom. How did they find out? Deng Shentang asked in confusion. The actions of the East China Sea region will not be so reckless, and they cannot be discovered so easily. Lan Xincheng said with some gloating. That's impossible to say. The Colombian Navy is not a freeloader. Who made them want to backstab us and act on their own? This can be considered retribution. ZHU Zheng glanced at him, and Lan Xincheng immediately shut his mouth. ZHU Zheng continued. This time, both of us will dispatch a group of top strangers to participate in the mission. My opinion is that, since our strength is weaker than that of the Colombian Navy in the East China Sea region, then we have to concentrate on doing big things. So, every investigation team must be dispatched. There is a stack of documents in front of Zhang Yi, all of which are various materials collected by Jiangnan region. He flipped through it and found that there was some information on the aliens in the East China Sea region and the Colombian Navy. King Long, whose real name is Zhu Xianlong, is a former Marine Corps major, a person with orc-type abilities and unknown abilities. He is suspected of being a giant sea beast. Zhang Yi looked at the information in his hand and listened to ZHU Zheng's speech. Zhang Yi actually knew everything ZHU Zheng said. Others are nothing more than commonplace things. This time, our headquarters will send people to the mission area together with people from the Donghae region. Whoever discovers the source of God first will get %, and % will go to the other side. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi asked calmly, ZHU Shui, can the source of God be divided? ZHU Zheng chuckled. We don't know about this problem either. Everyone present looked strange. I don't even know what the source of God is, so this information is too scarce. ZHU Zheng Dao. So in order to solve this problem, we also came up with a way. If the source of God is really impossible to divide, then we must pay for it with corresponding resources. Deng Shentang asked, but there is nothing more valuable than an Epsilon level alien, right? Lan Xincheng replied for ZHU Zheng. The quality is not enough. We have to make up the quantity. Chapter 934 Refusal to form a team. Lan Xincheng's answer made every captain smile jokingly. It's a beautiful thing to say, but everyone wants to get the source of God and become a higher level Epsilon level alien. Teoti crossed his arms and said carelessly, in other words, our first goal is to seize the source of God. Then we will give them the corresponding materials to complete the task. ZHU Zheng's eyes became deep. Theoretically speaking, this is indeed the case. The mission this time is not easy to complete. The East China Sea region is a war zone, and the number and strength of top aliens are higher than ours. So you should be careful. If you have the chance, you can use the source of God directly, if you get it. In short, whoever has this ability should use the source of God. ZHU Zheng had to say this, because at that time, even if he strictly prohibits it, the captains will not listen to him. Zhang Yi's heart moved slightly, and he glanced at ZHU Zheng. ZHU Zheng had promised at the beginning to give him priority in using the source of God. As a result, now, the story has changed again. ZHU Zheng pretended not to see Zhang Yi's gaze. The matter has been decided. At 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, we will set off for the Donghae region on time. Then head to the mission area. You must adjust your status. You must also be prepared to collide with the surrounding forces. Everyone nodded and did not put forward any more opinions. After arriving at Star Island, everyone relied on their own abilities. In the final analysis, they relied on strength and some good luck. No one is a chick, so there is no need to ask unnecessary questions. And naturally, the region has also opened up the supply of all the weapons and equipment needed for this mission, except for Zhang Yi. The meeting ended in less than 10 minutes, neatly. Zhang Yi didn't say a few words from beginning to end, because he has been a participant from the beginning, and can imagine the current situation. After everyone left, he caught up with ZHU Zheng. Shui ZHU. ZHU Zheng turned back, and looked at Zhang Yi, his eyes not surprised at all. I knew you would come. What I promised you before may be a little difficult now. We are not the leader in that battlefield, so you can only fight it on your own. But if you have any other needs, feel free to ask. Zhang Yi shook his head. That's not why he came. He knew ZHU Zheng's difficulties, and he didn't care. I haven't thought of what I need yet. We'll talk about it later, when we need it. But I have one request. This time I won't take Bailey Changqing and others with me. I will go alone. ZHU Zheng and Sun Luxuan both looked at Zhang Yi in surprise. Are you going alone? ZHU Zheng asked. Do you know that place is very dangerous? In addition to the highly corrosive poisonous miasma, it also needs to pass through the blockade of the Colombian Navy. There is a great possibility that our actions will be discovered. Although I know that your ability to save lives is very powerful, but in an area where you can't tell the direction at all, and there is poisonous miasma everywhere, it is too dangerous for you to be alone. Zhang Yi nodded. I know all this, but it's precisely because I know that I don't want to take others there. My abilities tend to focus on defensive counterattacks and assassinations. It's easier for me to act alone. Teamwork has never been my strong point. Besides, there are so many captains there, so having more people is not necessarily a good thing. After ZHU Zheng thought about it for a while, he nodded. It is true that your time to get used to the team is too short. I can also see that you don't want to be a leader at all. In that case, it's up to you. It's just that Evergreen will be sad. Zhang Yi curled his lips slightly and said, he can join other teams. I believe that with his strength, the vice captain will not just do it casually. ZHU Zheng clasped his hands behind his back and said seriously, he has never interacted with other teams. Even if he went, it would be dangerous to suddenly participate in such an important operation. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. Just look at the arrangements. ZHU Zheng had no choice. Okay. Since you insist, then I respect your opinion. Anyway, with your strength and style of doing things, even if you act alone, I believe you can perform well. Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. Thank you ZHU Shui. Zhang Yi went to the military supplies department alone to receive a large amount of supplies. It is nothing more than tons and tons of heavy weapons, hundreds of tons of TNT and C4 explosives, healing drugs, anti-venom, and a lot of food. In short, he filled up his quota. Anyway, if you don't take the things in Blizzard City, you won't get anything, and if you take them, you won't suffer any loss. Others have to be careful with their budgets, fearing that carrying too many supplies will affect the battle. Zhang Yi is afraid that the quota is not enough. Just when he was receiving supplies, Bailey Changqing suddenly came over. Captain Chaos, I want to talk to you. Bailey Changqing glanced at the quartermaster next to him, and said to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi glanced at Bailey Changqing. About the mission? That's right. Why did you choose to act alone? And you didn't take any of us with you? Bailey Changqing's expression was a bit ugly. After the battle at Eclipse, he and the rest of the team never took on any decent missions. If this continues, his people will be destroyed. Zhang Yi said calmly, it's not convenient to tell you the content of the mission. Anyway, remember, I'm doing it for your own good. Just kidding. He just thought it would be troublesome to bring these guys with him. Bailey Changqing was stunned for a moment. His brows furrowed slightly, his expression hesitant. After a long time, he asked carefully, is it a very dangerous mission? Zhang Yidao, didn't you see who are the people attending the meeting? The importance of this mission is beyond imagination. Even if you go, it will be very dangerous, let alone the other people in the team. Bailey Changqing said with some confusion. However, it seems that other members of the investigation team will also participate in the operation. Zhang Yidao, but you should also know what kind of person I am. We are friends, right? Bailey Changqing scratched his head. Yeah. Zhang Yi said with a smile. If you are really in danger, I shouldn't be able to care about you. You have very good professional ethics, but I'm used to being a lone wolf. I'm not Bian Junwoo, and I don't have a great spirit of sacrifice. So I suggest that you treat me as a private friend. Let's have a drink and chat together. But when it comes to the battlefield, don't be a comrade with someone like me. He lightly punched Bailey Chanking on the shoulder. If we don't talk about that, our friendship will not deteriorate. Bailey Chanking touched his shoulder. Zhang Yi had already counted the supplies and left the military supplies department. Bailey Chanking was left alone and melancholy. Chapter 935 I only believe in myself. Zhang Yi came to Blizzard City this time and acted completely like a lone wolf. I haven't expressed much since I attended the meeting. After the mission was over, he quietly received the supplies alone, returned to his residence, and fed the cats and dogs. This attitude surprised many people, but thinking of Zhang Yi's previous experience at sea, everyone thought that he might not have gotten over that experience yet, so they all thought it was understandable. For this mission, Jiangnan region is naturally very attentive and has made sufficient preparations in all other aspects. But I won't go into details here. To put it simply, in order to complete the search, Deputy Director of Operations Situzin was sent to lead a team, and professional investigators were arranged to accompany it this evening. The lights were still on in ZHU Zheng's office. He sat at his desk, his hands crossed to support his chin, and his tightly furrowed brows showed his state of mind at this time. For this mission, he has great ambitions in his heart. However, it is actually extremely difficult to achieve your goal. The most critical point is that he doesn't have enough strength in his hands. Today's 5 major investigation teams, the Nightcrow squad has just been formed, and the Tengu squad has become disorganized due to Zhang Yi's Buddhist lineage. If we really want to go to Star Island, I'm afraid it will be difficult to form effective combat effectiveness. The most critical thing is that they do not have a suitable leader to lead the team and support the entire team. Ding dong. An electronic voice prompt sounded. ZHU Shui, Captain Jingwei of the Nightcrow squad requests to see you. Upon hearing the word Jingwei, ZHU Zheng immediately said, let her in. Soon after, Jingwei, wearing a black combat uniform and his eyes covered by a layer of black gauze, came to ZHU Zheng. ZHU Shui. Her voice was cold, like a machine without emotions. ZHU Zheng looked at Jingwei and said leisurely, have you seen me today? Jingwei nodded. I saw him. I feel like he is very strong. ZHU Zheng also nodded. Don't forget your mission on this trip. He is an absolute conservative. It is safest for you to follow him during this operation. But, ZHU Zheng's eyes flashed with a faint light. When necessary, you can use him. After all, things like the source of God are very important to the region. Jingwei raised his right hand to his temple. Yes, ZHU Shui. I know my mission very well. Zhang Yi returned to his residence in Blizzard City with a large amount of supplies. Huahua and Lel are waiting here for his return. After Zhang Yi returned home, the first thing he did was to prepare food for them. Both guys are big eaters. Fortunately, Huahua didn't need much energy before transforming into a giant to fight. But every time it participates in a battle, it will eat food for dozens of people. Not only Huahua, but Zhang Yi, Liang Yu and others are all the same. Nowadays, the energy consumed by supernatural powers is converted from food. The higher the level of aliens, the higher the energy requirements for dietary intake. Fortunately, Zhang Yi's alien space has sufficient supplies. Otherwise, if they continue to develop in their current state, the food may not last for decades. For ordinary wild aliens, even if they have high talents, they would not dare to fight with others due to lack of food, or they would not be able to obtain sufficient energy supplies. However, fortunately, Jiangnan region has sufficient supplies. They adopted special food production and processing methods and were able to feed more and more people. Supporting strangers is no problem at all. This is why, every time Zhang Yi comes to collect supplies, he takes them openly. Say it as a joke. Every time a stranger like Zhang Yi takes action, the energy consumed may be no less than dispatching a large battleship. The alien has become a strategic weapon in the new era. It is expensive to build, but has a very high cost performance. Fortunately, Yiren does not require much maintenance on weekdays. This is the only good news. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa and prepared a small mountain of food and drinking water for them. Then he sat on the sofa and took out a hamburger and coke from another space to eat. His expression was very indifferent. This is very different from the busy units at all levels in Blizzard City today. And all this was just because he knew one thing clearly at this time. That is, during the next trip to Xingdao, it will be difficult for the district to help them. It is also unrealistic to expect the East China Sea region, the main party responsible for this operation, to help them. He has to rely on himself to get everything he wants. What's more, he noticed something wrong from ZHU Zheng's attitude. Not only because ZHU Zheng threw his previous promises behind him. It was even more because ZHU Zheng did not appoint him as the overall person in charge of this operation. If we think about it from a conventional perspective, the Jiangnan region is clearly weaker than the Colombian Navy and the East China Sea region. Then the best way is to concentrate on doing big things. It is the best choice for him, who is currently the strongest in the Jiangnan region, to lead the team and the 5 investigation teams to act in unison. ZHU Zheng said nothing about this matter. This shows that ZHU Zheng is still wary of Zhang Yi. This cannot be said to be a mistake. As the supreme commander of the region, he was stabbed in the back by a trusted subordinate just half a year ago. Therefore, ZHU Zheng did not want to see Zhang Yi's family dominate. I'm just curious. Besides relying on me, who else can he rely on now? Zhang Yi frowned while eating his burger, puzzled by this. ZHU Zheng needs strong strength as the basis of his power. The other members of the investigation team basically have relevant powers behind them in Blizzard City. If either party becomes bigger and stronger, ZHU Zheng will feel uneasy. Because of this, Zhang Yi's existence seems so precious. Zhang Yi knew that, unless a new stranger appeared who was easier to control than him, and had strength that was not weaker than him, ZHU Zheng's attitude would not change so quickly. Could it be said that he has discovered new seeds in the 5 months since I left? It's quite possible. Zhang Yi took a bite of the burger, his dark pupils shining brightly in the night. Soon, he raised the corners of his mouth. This is very reasonable. This is what the supreme commander of a region should do. I will not trust anyone. I will only trust the power in my own hands. Zhang Yi didn't feel any loss in his heart. He and ZHU Zheng originally just used each other. He cooperated with ZHU Zheng's work because ZHU Zheng could provide him with the greatest convenience in this position. I'm afraid you made the wrong decision this time, Zhang Yi said lightly. Chapter 936 Gathering Troops. That night, Zhang Yi's residence welcomed a guest, Deng Shentong, the captain of the Celestial team. After not seeing him for many days, he has become a bit older now. His skin color is no longer the aristocratic white in the past, but has more pigmentation. You can even see the sparse stubble on his chin. It can be seen that Zhang Yi has not stopped practicing in the Jiangnan region for nearly half a year. The two exchanged brief greetings. Zhang Yi directly asked him the reason for his visit tonight. Does your Deng family have any special plans for this trip to Star Island? Zhang Yi stared into Deng Shentong's eyes with a smile. Although he knew that it was impossible for Deng Shentong to answer his question, he still wanted to test it. But unexpectedly, Deng Shentong answered directly. Of course. My goal this time is very clear, which is to get the source of God. Not just me, everyone has the same purpose. After all, in the end of the world, strength is everything. Only the strong can have the right to speak. Zhang Yi nodded. Then why did you come to me? If this is really the case, we should be competitors. Deng Shentong smiled. What you said seems to be correct. Moreover, you should be the person in the entire Jiangnan region that I can most regard as my opponent. But our real troubles don't come from within. Zhang Yi said calmly. You mean, Donghe region? Deng Shentong then said, even the Colombian Navy and many countries in the Southeastern Sea. With such a large-scale operation, the possibility of being discovered is very high. It may be a big melee by then. Deng Shentong couldn't stop saying. Zhang Yi said, since you have decided to go, you should be mentally prepared. In the past 6 months, I think your mentality has become more mature. You are not afraid, are you? Hearing this, Deng Shentong looked out the window with distant eyes. Of course I'm afraid. If I wasn't afraid before, I didn't have a sense of awe. But now, I already know how cruel the world is. Even the most powerful people will be killed, even for inexplicable reasons. Zhang Yi's heart moved slightly. In this case, if it were Deng Shentang back then, he would never be able to say it. It seems that he has undergone a great transformation in the past 6 months. So, what is your purpose in coming to me? Cooperation? Zhang Yi said with a smile. Deng Shentang shook his head. You are a very smart guy, and I can't convince you. You don't even want to take Evergreen with you, which shows that you plan to walk in the mission as a lone wolf. Zhang Yi, oh. Then when you come here this time, you don't just say hello to me, right? Deng Shentang touched his nose. At least I admit that you are very strong. If necessary, I hope that we can join forces, instead of being hostile to each other. Zhang Yi's heart slowly sank. Deng Shentang said it very clearly. In front of the source of God, there are no friends. Donghae region and Jiangnan region will secretly plot against each other. Even those who are also members of the Jiangnan region investigation team will disregard the so-called comrade-in-arms relationship for the slightest chance of being promoted to Epsilon. There was something Zhang Yi did not say to Deng Shentang. The so-called key to promotion to Epsilon didn't mean much to him. Because Zhang Yi, who has a power index of 9800 points at this time, does not have this limit. Just killing more powerful aliens and absorbing the source is enough. But it is true that as he gets closer to the 10,000 point level, the improvement brought by absorbing delta level aliens becomes smaller. If I really want to break through that boundary, I don't know that I have to kill the opponent's powerful alien. But in this mission, the mantis stalks the cicada, while the oriole stalks behind. He will become Epsilon in a way that others cannot imagine. I hope so. I've always been a person who doesn't offend others unless they offend me. Zhang Yi said. Deng Shentang smiled and nodded. That's good. After he said that, he stood up. It's getting late. I should go. I have to meet other people later. The other people he was referring to were naturally the captains of other investigation teams. But just when he was about to turn around and leave, he suddenly stopped. By the way, there is something I hope you will pay attention to recently. Deng Shentang looked back slightly, looked at Zhang Yi and said meaningfully, in recent times, Blizzard City seems to have undergone some changes. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly and said softly, yes, after all, I have been away for half a year. Half a year is enough to make many things and people different. Deng Shentang nodded and left Zhang Yi's house. However, his words made Zhang Yi even more convinced that something big must have happened secretly in Blizzard City, and perhaps a big storm was brewing. This kind of aura has been noticed since the first day he came back. As one of the real power organizations in the Jiangnan region, the Deng group must know something. But Deng Shentang would not tell him directly about that kind of thing unless there was an exchange of interests. It's really troublesome and nerve-wracking. Zhang Yi rubbed his temples. But it's not that troublesome. As long as I become stronger. Strong enough to dismantle all unknown fears. Zhang Yi's eyes were bright and there was a smile. During this trip to Star Island, he will definitely give everyone a big surprise. The next morning, Zhang Yi took Huahua and Lel to the Blizzard City subway station together. Along the way, when I saw the two animals next to Zhang Yi, the surrounding soldiers and strangers all cast strange looks. The other investigation teams are all ready to go, each carrying a large amount of weapons, equipment and strategic resources. There was no one around Zhang Yi, only two animals. However, in the apocalypse, cats and dogs are not as easy to see as usual. Even for a stranger's family, it is difficult to support them. Therefore, when some female strangers saw Huahua and Lel, love suddenly filled their eyes. Ling Hufixu saw this scene from a distance. Although she still had a cold face, her eyes that occasionally glanced here still betrayed her heart. Zhang Yi came to the front, as if no one else was around. The team he was in was very empty with only himself, a cat and a dog. The surrounding area was already filled with people, because it was not just a few major investigation teams that went there this time. The three armies have not moved, and the food and grass will go first. To organize a large-scale battle mission, the logistics must be done well. There are hundreds of support staff alone, not to mention the scouts who need to be the vanguard to enter the poisonous miasma area of Star Island to open up roads. All in all, the number of personnel dispatched from Blizzard City this time must be thousands. Zhu Zeng, the supreme commander of Jiangnan region, delivered an important speech for this mission. The speech mentioned that Jiangnan region and Donghai region have been brotherly war zones with harmonious relations since ancient times. This mission is based on the spirit of solidarity, mutual assistance, and win-win cooperation. We are proactive and work hard to achieve the early restoration of a normal living environment in Huaxu country. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 937 Showing Fist. What Zhu Zeng and others said went into Zhang Yi's left ear and came out through his right ear. He only remembered some key information. This trip to Star Island will be led by the Donghai region. So next they will take a special military train to Donghai City and then go to Star Island from Donghai City. Zhang Yi estimated in his mind that he would either take a submarine or use Zuanwu, a super biological battleship, to sneak to the vicinity of Star Island. This is to avoid being discovered by the navies of Colombia and surrounding countries. After all, at this time, percent of the Colombian Navy already knew the news about the source of God and was also working hard to search for its whereabouts. Then the other side is bound to keep a close eye on all actions in the two regions. After Zhu Zeng finished speaking simply and clearly, Zhang Yi and others entered the carriage one after another. Zhang Yi and the Night Crow team were in the same carriage. This newly formed team gave Zhang Yi a feeling of silence and death. Not as cold as an ordinary soldier. It feels like a machine. Of course, this does not mean that they are robots. Zhang Yi can still distinguish between living people and machines. It's just that the 8 members of this team, including the captain Jingli, never exchanged a word with him from beginning to end, and their expressions and movements didn't even change. After entering the special train, they sat down quietly on their seats. Just maintain the same posture from beginning to end, and you can't even see any movement on their part if you don't observe carefully from beginning to end. Zhang Yi didn't know where they came from, but he didn't care either. The world is so big, and there is so much he doesn't know. If he wants to find out everything, he will be busy. So he took out his headphones, sat quietly on the train, and listened to music. Nothing unusual happened along the way. The special train was speeding like a giant dragon in the underground tunnel. After more than 3 hours, it slowly began to slow down and finally stopped. After a week, Zhang Yi came to Donghai City again. They walked out of the special train. Outside, Citizen took some staff and had a formal exchange with the officials of Donghai City who came to receive them. But among these people, Zhang Yi saw a familiar face. The director of the Donghai City Operations Department, Li Xianyang. Zhang Yi's brows immediately furrowed when he thought of the way that guy had given him truth serum before. Li Xianyang soon noticed Zhang Yi. He kept a straight face and a foul expression. But after seeing Zhang Yi, this expression became even more ugly, his eyes as sharp and malicious as a poisonous snake. Zhang Yi naturally understood the reason for his behavior. Because Zhang Yi later tricked him and provided him with false information. As a result, the East China Sea region was busy in the waters near Star Island. Zhang Yi secretly laughed in his heart. It was Li Xianyang's fault. Obviously he told the other party the real information from the beginning, but Li Xianyang didn't believe it and insisted on playing tricks with him. Li Xianyang suddenly strode towards Zhang Yi. Chaos. Aren't you going to give me an explanation for what happened last time? Do you know how much time we wasted because of you, and we were almost discovered by the Colombian Navy? We also lost 2 deep sea frogmen. This is all your fault. Li Xianyang scolded Zhang Yi sharply, and he was accompanied by 3 of the 4 spirits in the East China Sea region. This may be his confidence. Zhang Yi drooped his eyelids, his hands naturally dropped to his sides, and said lightly, "Why, are you still reasonable?" Huahua was still lying lazily on Lel's head, but her squinted eyes showed a slit, looking at Li Xianyang, King Long and others. If Li Xianyang dares to take action here, there is no doubt that Zhang Yi and Huahua will fight back immediately. However, Li Xianyang is not the kind of fool who would take action at such a time. He stared at Zhang Yi with a gloomy face and said coldly, okay, I underestimated you. Haha, chaos, you really have a lot of trouble. But remember, after this mission is over, I will find some time. I'll settle the ledger with you. He thought he was smart and went to give Zhang Yi the truth serum without permission. I thought I had made a great contribution, but I didn't expect that my work was in vain and my target was almost exposed. This incident made him lose face among the top officials of the Donghai region. He naturally blamed Zhang Yi for all this. Situzing coughed, walked over and said with a smile, Minister Li, if there is anything we can discuss later, okay. Li Xianyang glared at Zhang Yi, snorted coldly, and turned to leave. From beginning to end, his expression had a hint of the arrogance of a superior. Not only to Zhang Yi, but also to the entire Jiangnan region delegation headed by Situzin. Confidence comes from strength. Their military strength is superior to that of the Jiangnan region in all aspects, and they can indeed be arrogant. This attitude can be clearly felt by everyone present. This made everyone feel a little unhappy, but they didn't explode on the spot. Time waits for no one. Take them and set off immediately. Now we have to race against time. Li Xianyang glanced at his watch and said to Situzin in a cold voice. Situzin smiled and nodded. What you said is, please lead the way, we will go there right away. Li Xianyang got into a military vehicle and headed towards the seaport. Zhang Yi crossed his arms with a sneer on his face. The expressions on the faces of Deng Shentong, Ling Hufixu and others were a little ugly. Although I knew it would unfold like this, it still makes me feel very unhappy when I actually encounter it. Deng Shentong said leisurely. This sentence can be regarded as expressing the aspirations of everyone in the Jiangnan region. The investigation team that traveled across the Jiangnan region came to someone else's territory and was threatened as soon as they came up. It seemed that Li Xianyang was targeting Zhang Yi, but in fact, it made all the investigation team lose face. Is this a warning to us? The captain of the iron-blooded team, Li Long, said in a hoarse voice. Situzin clapped his hands and said to everyone with a smile, okay, don't worry about these trivial matters. As the main force in defending the sea area, the East China Sea region has shouldered most of the pressure for us. They have some emotions, and we should understand them. But I believe that everyone will cooperate well with each other in the following tasks. Don't take this matter to heart. Let's go. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows with a playful smile on his lips. What Situzin said in the scene was quite good. Everyone also knew that now was not the time to get emotional, so they all boarded the military vehicles prepared by the Donghai region. More than 1,000 people headed towards the seaport outside Donghai city. When they arrived at their destination, they saw soldiers from the Donghai region already lined up here. The port was surrounded by soldiers with live ammunition and extraordinary momentum. Before they even got close, they felt a sense of killing. A show of force. Show your fists? Zhang Yi saw this scene through the window and sneered in his heart. The person in charge of this operation in the Donghai region is Li Xianyang, and Zhang Yi doesn't have any good impressions of that guy. He wants to ask people from the Jiangnan region for help, but also wants to suppress the Jiangnan region. He is really both responsible and independent. If you are really that awesome, wouldn't it be better if you go to Foggy Bottom and face the oppressive power of the Colombian Navy? Zhang Yi said lightly. Chapter 938 I owe it to you. After people from Jiangnan region arrived at the port, Li Xianyang looked back at them with a contemptuous smile on his lips. Comparing them with the people from Jiangnan region can highlight the strength of their Donghai region. He said to the communicator, Zuanwu, get out of the water. A moment later, the seawater around the port suddenly surged violently. Ling Hufixu and Zhang Yi had met Zuanwu before, so they were not too surprised. However, it was the first time for others to come here. For a while, they saw the large-scale surge of seawater and did not know what happened. Is there something under the water? Is it a submarine? No, it's impossible. The submarine definitely doesn't make such a big movement. Is it some new type of weapon? Amidst the discussion among a group of people, Zuanwu's huge head poked out like a hill. Then, its silent-like body began to emerge from the water. A black deep sea beast and a giant turtle with a body a length of several hundred meters appeared in front of everyone. Deng Xiantong, Li Long and others tightened their eyes. It was the first time even them felt the powerful pressure and shock. Deng Xiantong took a deep breath, frowned and said, "Is it an Epsilon level alien? Now, what else do we have to fight for?" To put it bluntly, even the lowest level of Epsilon level aliens can defeat a group of them. The huge Zuanwu in front of us, as the highest combat power in the East China Sea region, is certainly strong. Even if it appears, then Jiangnan region has almost no chance in this mission competition. Zhang Yi and Ling Hufixu looked at each other, understanding each other's thoughts. Although Zuanwu is powerful, it is limited by its size and cannot land. In other words, they still have a chance to obtain the source of God. But if Zuanwu were to raid the formation near Star Island, it would indeed bring a huge sense of oppression. Li Xianyang was very satisfied with the expressions of the people in Jiangnan region. He spread his hands and said with a smile, "Let me introduce, this is the ace of our four-spirit fleet in the East China Sea region, Zuanwu. And this time, when we go to Star Island, we will take it." Situzin squinted his eyes, and it was easy to see the shocked expression on his face. After a long time, he let out a long sigh. "I didn't expect that even Zuanwu was dispatched. It seems that this time, your Donghae region is determined to get that thing." Li Xianyang smiled and said to Situzin, "We are brothers in the war zone, so Minister Sitter doesn't have to worry. After we get that thing, the resources we should give you according to the agreement will not be less." Situzin smiled. "That's the best." While everyone else was focusing on Zuanwu, Zhang Yi was carefully observing the others around him. This time, the Donghae region also dispatched a large number of top-level combat forces. The four-spirit fleet, this time Qinglong, White Tiger, Suzaku, and Zuanwu were all dispatched. Moreover, the combat power of several other fleets were also among the crowd, standing behind the four spirits. Looking carefully, there are two teams composed of top aliens. Zuanwu opened his big mouth, revealing the huge passage inside. Li Xianyang stretched out his hand and motioned for Qinglong and others to go in first. After all the people from the Donghae region entered, it was the turn of the people from the Jiangnan region. The space in Zuanwu's body is very wide, and it has long been built into a super battleship. It is not a problem to accommodate thousands of people. This time, the Donghae region also arranged hundreds of professional investigators to cooperate with the aliens in the investigation. Moreover, there are specialties in the arts, and aliens may be better at fighting, but they are not that good at searching. And the entire 6 cities around Foggy Valley were completely covered by the poisonous miasma. The magnetic field there fluctuates greatly due to the existence of the source of God. Not only is it impossible to navigate using satellite systems, you can't even use a compass. When you enter the poisonous miasma area, you can't even distinguish the southeast from the northwest. Then these professionals become particularly important. In order to prevent everyone from completely losing contact, the Donghae region has specially prepared a new set of communication chips that can be installed on everyone. In this way, the command center can keep track of everyone's location and communicate with them. Zhang Yi silently took Huahua and Lelan to Zuanwu. After everyone boarded the ship, Zuanwu closed his huge mouth and then slowly sank into the water. It will set off from the deepest part of the sea, cross the ocean, and then set off in the direction of Star Island. Li Xianyang and Situzin summoned all captains and went to a conference room in the middle to hold a combat meeting. We will land at Baeta City on the coast of Star Island, and then split into 2 teams and set off. The respective leading reconnaissance troops will be responsible for exploring the path, and then leave marks as guidance. Subsequent alien troops will follow up. Now the entire Kirishima is shrouded in a poisonous miasma, and the island is filled with dangerous unknown creatures, so everyone must be careful when the time comes. When they heard this, Deng Shentong and others raised their eyebrows. Dangerous unknown creatures? Donghae region did not inform Jiangnan region in detail about this matter. However, this may also be one of the reasons why Donghae region needs to join forces with Jiangnan region. If the source of God was really so easy to obtain, they would not be so kind as to share it with the Jiangnan region. Li Xianyang sat on the chair with a 3-dimensional map of Star Island in front of him. He held a baton in his hand and pointed it at an area randomly. You are weaker among the teams in Jiangnan region, so you set out from Jinfeng City, and several teams from our East China Sea region are moving forward from Kaladarang. Our troops are divided into two groups, one on the left and one on the right. Seeing the route arranged by Li Xianyang, the expressions of everyone in Jiangnan region changed slightly. Because according to the map, Jinfeng City is the farthest from Wugu, and obviously Kaladarjan and Wugu are the closest. And there is another biggest problem. That is the location of Jinfeng City, closer to Neon and Merais. According to previous speculations, the Colombian Navy has been keeping an eye on the two regions of Huaxu Kingdom, hoping to obtain information about the source of God. So now, they may have locked the area around Star Island, but they just don't know the exact location. And if the two regions jointly operate and dispatch troops on such a large scale, it is impossible to completely hide it from the Colombian Navy. It should be a matter of time before someone comes to your door. At that time, the main pressure from the Colombian Navy will most likely be the alien team from the Jiangnan region, located in Jinfeng City. This arrogant and unreasonable distribution plan directly made the captains of Jiangnan region change their faces with anger. Zhang Yi sneered and said, Minister Li really made a good calculation. You want all the benefits, but we have to bear the risks. Li Xianyang snorted coldly, stared at Zhang Yi and said, and this risk is all brought by you. Naturally, you need to bear it. He still gritted his teeth when he thought of that incident. If you hadn't given us wrong information, we would have obtained the source of God long ago. Zhang Yi glanced at him. What should I do to you? You. Just as Li Xianyang was about to have a fit, he was persuaded by the adjutant next to him. Minister, calm down. Li Xianyang said with a straight face. In short, this operation is led by our Donghae region. This arrangement of mine was carefully considered. Chapter 939 Arriving at Star Island. Situzin turned his head and said with a smile, of course, we do not doubt Minister Li's friendliness and strategy. However, our Jiangnan strength is weak, but it is placed in a dangerous place, which is inevitably unacceptable to us. Li Xianyang explained, there are many dangers on the island. The closer to the foggy valley, the more serious the danger. He put his hands in his hands and said in a deep voice, we have sent people to investigate before. There is a terrible mysterious creature around Foggy Valley. All the people sent to investigate have died, and no one has survived. And according to the fragments of intelligence we have obtained, the closer we get to Foggy Bottom, the more terrifying the creature becomes. Li Xianyang looked at Situzin. You Jiangnan region should know if this is groundless. The information given to us by Shengjing once mentioned the strange beasts that exist around the source of God. Situzin squinted his eyes and knocked on the armrest with his right hand. The most detailed information about the source of God now comes from the part shared by the Shengjing district. And they did mention that when they first discovered the source of God in the Qinling Mountains, they encountered extremely strange events and the indescribable guardian. Li Xianyang continued, your strength is weak, so letting our troops from the East China Sea region approach the core area first is most beneficial to the success of the mission. At this point, he sneered, with a bit of teasing on his face. Besides, you don't really think that you can obtain the source of God, right? The Donghae region and the Jiangnan region joined forces. From the very beginning, their purpose was just to help them clear up some troubles. For example, the Colombian Navy may arrive, as well as the forces of other surrounding countries. Please help us with peace of mind. When the source of God is obtained, your benefits will naturally be indispensable. Li Xianyang knocked on the table hard, and if strangers from Colombia and other countries really show up, you will be responsible for being there and helping us delay time. Li Xianyang's tone and attitude made Deng Shentang and others frown. It also made them realize more profoundly that without strong enough strength, they would not have the capital to negotiate with others. The strength of the aliens in the East China Sea region was far beyond theirs, so Li Xianyang could tell them without any scruples, you are only here to help us obtain the source of God. Even though they were angry, they couldn't refute it. After all, strength lies here. Deng Shentang glanced at Zhang Yi subconsciously. Zhang Yi was actually picking his ears with concentration. It seemed that Zhang Yi didn't care at all about Li Xianyang's arrogance. However, Considering Zhang Yi's always acting style, Deng Shentang was also very helpless. Their number one master is like this, what else can they do? But no one could blame Zhang Yi for not being tough enough. Among so many people present, Zhang Yi was the only layman. If captains like them who were born in Blizzard City were not too weak, why would Zhang Yi be allowed to hold up the title of number one in the region? Deng Shentang took a deep breath and said no more words. But he, Li Long, Ling Hufixu and others all had a look of reluctance deep in their eyes. There is an undercurrent surging in everyone's heart. So what if there are disadvantages? As long as there is a chance, they will try to get the chance to be promoted to Epsilon. Situzin turned his attention to Zhang Yi and other captains. Seeing Zhang Yi's nonchalant attitude, he said to Li Xianyang, then just do what Minister Li said. Even if you want to negotiate terms, you still need capital. The Donghai region has given enough face and promised to compensate the Jiangnan region for its resources after obtaining the source of God. Even Zhu Zeng tacitly agreed in his heart that he could not get the source of God. Among the main combat forces, Zhang Yi, who currently has the highest ability index, did not say anything. Naturally, others would not take this as the one who stood out. Now, they are in Xuanwu's belly. No one dares to underestimate the young man sitting aside drinking tea in his spiritual form. Half a day later, Xuanwu snorkeled from the bottom of the sea and finally arrived near Xingdao, an island country on the sea. The huge body set off huge waves with a boom and surfaced. Looking from a distance, one can see that in the country of Star Island, a large area is already shrouded in a rich poisonous miasma. Even if they wear combat uniforms and go to the island, everyone must take antidotes on time to prevent the poisonous miasma from invading the body. The space tens of meters above this island country is covered in grey, and the range visible to the eye is no more than 10 meters at most. Xuanwu's big mouth opened, and the vanguard troops from the two regions took the lead, taking out their assault boats and swimming in different directions. According to the plan, they will first conduct a professional exploration, leaving road signs for the subsequent alien troops, and then guide them to find the direction of Foggy Valley as quickly as possible. Zhang Yi and others came to Xuanwu's mouth. A large group of people gathered here, and it didn't seem too crowded. Xuanwu's spirit body was also among the crowd, standing at the forefront of the strangers in the East China Sea region. Everyone looked at this Epsilon-level stranger, their eyes filled with awe and admiration. Even the chief of operations Li Xianyang, an officer who was used to being arrogant, smiled and tried to please him in front of him. After a while, the vanguard came ashore first. Then according to the original plan, the leading troops from the Jiangnan region headed towards Jinfeng City, and the leading troops from the Donghai region headed towards Kaladarang. But at this moment, Xuanwu's brows suddenly frowned tightly. He just said such a sentence lightly, leaving everyone confused. The he in Xuanwu's mouth obviously refers to a specific person. Li Xianyang couldn't help asking, Xuanwu, who is here? Xuanwu didn't look at the people around him, but suddenly disappeared from his main body's mouth, and appeared on his main body's head the next second. His eyes stared into the distance. In the distance, at the end of the sea and the sky, a huge white line stretches for hundreds of miles, approaching rapidly this way. In that direction, Cardiles came over with a giant whale on his feet and a wicked smile on his lips. Beside him, hundreds of huge deep sea beasts and countless marine creatures made distant and terrifying roars, rushing toward the combined forces of the two regions. Lord of the Sea, the Lord of the Storm. These old enemies on the sea, who had been facing each other for a year in the ocean area, met again. Xuanwu issued a warning to everyone. Columbia's navy discovered us. Something's not right. They came too fast. Perhaps we have already exposed our traces. Xuanwu's voice was low, but it brought great pressure and panic to others. Everyone's expression was extremely serious. Are they about to have a decisive battle with the Colombian navy here before they land? Although in terms of strength, the top combat forces in their two regions will not be afraid, but they are really not qualified to participate in the battle between the two Epsilon levels. When the time comes to fight, I'm afraid most people will become cannon fodder. Chapter 940. I'm very good at escaping. No one expected that, as soon as they arrived at Star Island, they would encounter the Colombian navy. The way Cardiles appeared was so shocking. in the sea. His method of controlling all spirits with absolute power is simply a bug. Especially when fighting in groups, he alone is as powerful as a huge fleet. At this point, even Xuanwu can't match it. Perhaps he is not afraid of Cadile's in one-on-one combat, but his ability in group combat is not as good as Cadile's. At this time, Cartier's was the leader, followed by dozens of warships. Obviously this time the Colombian Navy was well prepared. It was as if he already knew they would come. Li Xianyang's face turned a little pale. At this moment, the difficulty of the task instantly increased by several levels. Although they are also prepared, sooner or later they will be discovered by the Colombian Navy. But they thought they could at least seize the opportunity. Now, there is no advantage left. What the hell is going on? Why does the Colombian Navy appear here? Li Xianyang's eyes turned red. An officer next to him came over and said to him, "This time it's not just the Navy from Colombia. We found that there are also warships from Neon, Scylla and Maris in their fleet. This time they are a combined fleet, waiting for our arrival here." As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere at the scene became even more depressed. Deng Shentang had a gloomy face and frowned. How could this happen? Could it be that we have each other's undercover agents? An officer from the Donghae region shook his head. This is absolutely impossible. A shield has been installed in Xuanwu's body. Even if there is an undercover agent in this operation, it is impossible to send the signal out. Li Xianyang suddenly turned his head and stared at the people in Donghae region, especially Zhang Yi. "Did you leak the news?" Zhang Yi put his hand on Lel's soft fur and was too lazy to pay attention to him. Situzin put his hands behind his back and said slowly, "Minister Li, don't be so excited. Do you think it is possible for us to do such a stupid thing?" Li Xianyang was also so angry that he said angry words. In fact, he also knew that it was impossible for Jiangnan region to do such a thing. If the source of God falls into the hands of the East China Sea region, they can also get a lot of resources. But if they fall into the hands of the Colombian Navy, they will gain nothing, and it will also cause damage to their own interests. Regardless of any lofty ideals, purely from the perspective of self-interest, people in the Jiangnan region would not do such stupid things. At this time, King Lang expressed his thoughts. "I have a guess. Perhaps they have roughly known the location of the source of God through various signs and intelligence fragments. It's just that they can't know the specific location of the source of God. But they know that we will definitely send out troops to search. Therefore, they have been deploying troops in the surrounding waters. When we appeared, they may have discovered us and followed us." Suzaku, the female captain among the four spirits, looked at the enemy in the distance and expressed her opinion. "It's also possible that it has something to do with the Lord of the Ocean in Epsilon. Regarding the information about the Lord of the Ocean, the East China Sea region has limited information. After all, Xuanwu has never fought against Cartiers, so he naturally doesn't know if he has any hidden cards." Situzin said, "Now that the matter has come to this, we can only use it as a warning. We dare not start a war lightly, and the other party is also wary. Let's see what their attitude is first." Li Xianyang had a gloomy face and nodded slowly. This time they gathered the top forces from the two regions, and the other party also gathered alien forces from multiple countries. If there really was a fight, I don't know how many people would die. Regardless of victory or defeat, there will be heavy casualties, resulting in a sharp reduction in the combat power of the region. This is not the situation they want to see. The huge tide of sea monsters is getting closer and closer, and each of those mountain-like deep sea monsters exudes a frightening sense of oppression. They are twisted, powerful, and weird. They have mutated into ugly and grotesque shapes, and some of them can even no longer tell what kind of creature they are. The ferocious appearance and ear-piercing howls made many warriors in the two regions look solemn. If there was a fight, how would they deal with so many sea monsters? I'm afraid it only takes Cardiles alone to annihilate half of them. Those below the captain level are powerless to fight back against such a true appearance. This is also an important reason why Cardile's ability index is set at 18,000 points. He is a true war machine. One person is comparable to a large modern fleet. The sea monster tide and the combined fleets of Colombia and other countries stopped at the sea 6 or 7 nautical miles away. They did not attack. Li Xianyang received a call request from the Colombian Navy. When Li Xianyang heard this, his expression was gloomy, but he still turned around and walked towards Zuanwu's body. As the second person in charge of this operation, Situza naturally followed him. This call was a bit long, more than half an hour. Zhang Yi rested there leaning on Lel's huge body like a normal person, as if everything had nothing to do with him. Others have no way of knowing the outcome of the negotiation and can only wait here. But compared to Zhang Yi, everyone else was more or less nervous. After all, the current situation is about to start a fight. Seeing Zhang Yi fishing there, King Lang couldn't help but come over and asked, "Why are you so open-minded? How long has it been since then that you are not afraid of a fight?" Zhang Yi gave him a reassuring gesture. "It's okay, what I'm best at is escaping." As soon as these words came out, the expression on King Lang's face froze instantly. Deng Shentang and other strangers from the Jiangnan area had embarrassed looks on their faces. They all turned their faces to the side, trying to say that they didn't know Zhang Yi. The strangers in the East China Sea region couldn't hold back their laughter. The dignified #1 master in Jiangnan region, codenamed Chaos, was originally thought to be a ruthless character. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be a guy who arrived at the battlefield and only thought about how to escape. It's really funny. Are all the people from Jiangnan region like this? Hey, after all, I have stayed in a comfortable place for too long. There are no tigers in the mountains, and monkeys are kings. If he were in our area, I'm afraid he could only be an ordinary fleet commander. He wouldn't even be ranked among the 4 spirits. It's necessary. Which one of our 4 spirit fleets is not a strong man who has experienced hundreds of battles and is first class? Facing the comments from people around him, Zhang Yi didn't care at all. He had no interest in being a hero, so why should others worship him? This thing can't be used as food, so it's not of much use to him. Chapter 941 Departing from Star Island. After a long time, Li Xianyang and Situzin came out of Zuanwu's body. Situzin's expression was still that of a good old man with a faint smile, but this smile was slightly uncomfortable. And Li Xianyang's face was even darker and ugly. He put his hands behind his back and said to everyone, "We have reached an agreement with the Colombian combined fleet. Both sides will enter the Star Island to find the source of God, based on their own abilities." As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar. Each one depends on his ability? Doesn't that mean we have to fight each other's epsilon? Zuanwu is too big and difficult to land, but the other party can. Are we going to fight against the Lord of the Ocean? That's obviously a fatal thing. Even Zhang Yi looked slightly sideways. He had fought against crocodiles before and knew how terrifying that guy was. Even after leaving the ocean, his strength is definitely not what a Delta level alien can imagine. If that were the case, their operation would be a complete joke. Don't worry. The Epsilon class aliens from both our sides will not land on the island to participate in this fight. Li Xianyang said loudly. The only people who will compete with you are strangers from the other country. And all you have to do is get ahead of them and seize the source of God. His eyes suddenly became fierce. Of course, if possible, it would be best to eliminate them as much as possible in this place. The mission level this time is S level. Every time you kill an enemy alien, you will be rewarded based on your merits. You can choose from the resources of the 2 regions. The 2 regions sent top-notch aliens. So why not the other party? If enough of the opponent's top combat power can be eliminated here, especially the captain level aliens, it will definitely cause a big blow to the opponent. Zhang Yi understood the meaning of Li Xianyang's words. The epsilons on both sides check and balance each other. If the Lord of the Sea lands, all their other troops on the sea will be killed by Zuanwu. So even if Cartier survives, none of their top brass will be spared. No one is stupid, and they won't play this kind of strategy of changing families. By letting aliens below Delta level take action, the situation can be controlled within an acceptable range. After hearing this, Deng Shentang and others couldn't help but nodded. What Zhang Yi analyzed is indeed very reasonable. Deng Shentang leaned over and asked quietly, "Now that the plans of the East China Sea region have been disrupted, there is no need for us to act in full accordance with their instructions." Zhang Yi glanced at him. "Don't tell me that. If the Colombian Navy doesn't come, you will obey their orders." Deng Shentang smiled, and several other investigation captains also had slight smiles on their lips. Obviously, everyone wanted to go together. Although the alien troops from Colombia and other countries have joined, it has increased the difficulty for them to obtain the source of God. But the more chaotic the situation, the greater their chances. As the saying goes, wealth and wealth are sought in danger. The two regions made an agreement with the joint force, and both parties immediately arranged for their alien troops to enter the huge poisonous miasma area of Star Island. However, there were some minor changes in the arrangements for this operation. There are more competitors, and everyone has to race against time. On the one hand, we have to be wary of friendly forces, and on the other hand, we have to be wary of hostile forces. Friendly forces will only prevent you from getting the source of God, but enemy forces will kill you. Citizen looked at Li Xianyang. Now that a third-party force has appeared, our actions must be replaned. We can't continue like this. Especially the reconnaissance force. When they encounter the other party's aliens, they are almost completely wiped out. Li Xianyang said, as a soldier, you should have the consciousness to sacrifice your life for the country. As long as they can buy us time, their death in battle is worth it. Now we are not playing house, but a life and death struggle. I will not be merciful. Citizen remained silent. Li Xianyang suddenly smiled and said, if you want to withdraw your people, that's okay with me. But, they must all go to the battlefield. Li Xianyang pointed at Zhang Yi and others and said. Citizen chuckled. Look what you said. You people in the Donghae region are not afraid of death, but we people in the Jiangnan region are afraid of death. A haze passed through his heart. But now, in order to compete for the source of God, the scale of the war has escalated. That's right, this is no longer a simple treasure hunt, but a war of huge scale. After the end of the world, the rules of the world have changed. If the strength of the aliens is quantified, then the strength of each investigation team is comparable to a powerful army with the most advanced weapons. The number of people on this battlefield may be far less than in the war before the end of the world, but it has gathered more than % of the power of the two major regions of Huaxu Kingdom, as well as the Colombian Ocean Fleet and surrounding countries. Therefore, even if they knew that those weak scouts would most likely die, they still had to do this. I believe that the Colombian Navy will choose the same approach. Li Xianyang said coldly. We can't afford to lose. He suddenly looked back and looked at the strangers in the two areas. Now, go. Rush to your battlefield and take back the source of God. The three teams, King Long, White Tiger, and Suzaku, took the lead in arriving at Star Island by speedboat. They will go to Foggy Bottom as quickly as possible with the help of scouts according to their prior arrangements. We should go too. Zhang Yi touched Tuahua and Lel's hair. Deng Shentang nodded. You're right, we should take action. Chaos, what are your plans? Zhang Yi glanced at him expressionlessly. I'm not talking to you. Deng Shentang, huh? Zhang Yi chuckled and said, I'm talking to my cat and dog. You are such a familiar person. As Zhang Yi spoke, he took out a speedboat and left alone with Huahua and Lel. Deng Shentang, Liling, Jingwei, and Teoti looked at him, speechless. The number one expert in Jiangnan region just walked away alone. He isn't a lone wolf. Deng Shentang stroked his forehead helplessly. It doesn't matter, I will make a move. The captain of the devil team, Teoti, walked over. He was not very old, but he looked like a very handsome silver-haired boy. However, it seems that due to age, he is not very tall, only 1.6 meters tall. I don't plan to act with you either. After he finished speaking coldly, he also selected a speedboat, and then took the members of his investigation team and set off towards Jinfeng City. Upon seeing this, other members of the investigation team also began to land on the island. However, no one has any plans to cooperate with others. Jiangnan region does not have the ability to dominate everyone with absolute strength. There is Xuanwu in the East China Sea region, and Cartiers in Colombia. In Jiangnan region, even though Zhang Yi is called the number one master, he is not Epsilon after all. This makes other captains, except Deng Shentang, more or less not convinced. Without a backbone, gathering together will only hinder each other, and no one is willing to listen to others. And on the other hand, since the goal is to find the source of God, then acting separately can increase the probability of finding it. Hug together to keep warm. What if someone else gets there first? What's more, if the source of God is found, even people from the same region will become competitors. Chapter 942 Start the hunt. The joint forces kept a sufficient distance from them to prevent friction and collision. They came to another direction of Star Island and also dispatched elite alien troops. For this mission, the Columbian Ocean Fleet is also determined to win. However, they also know that they are far away from the mainland. If several major regions of Huaxu Kingdom join forces, they will be at a disadvantage. Therefore, in order to make up for this disadvantage, Navy Commander Douglas chose to win over several surrounding allies to participate in this operation. As Columbia's loyal younger brother, Neon, both the Kanto and Kansei organizations sent top alien warriors to support him. Silla on the peninsula, in order to please Columbia, also sent a large team of aliens. In addition, due to its geographical advantage, the Maris Kingdom in the southern seas learned the information early and also participated. In addition to these forces, the most core combat force is still the alien special forces of the Columbian Ocean Fleet, the Locks of Hell. Unlike the Huaxu Kingdom, the Columbian Navy did not scatter the top aliens. Instead, they gathered them all together and formed an alien super force with absolute strength. Every stranger who can enter this army is a being with extremely terrifying strength. There are only 7 people in this team, but each one has the strength of captain level or above. And their captain is naturally the #1 general in the Navy, John Cardiles, codenamed Lord of the Ocean. However, even Cardiles, who possesses transcendent strength, cannot absolutely suppress the brilliance of others within the Locks of Hell. All of them are powerful beings with a formidable reputation in the Navy. The person responsible for commanding this operation was Chief of Staff Graham Horn of the Ocean Fleet Command. Before the joint force set off for action, he solemnly reminded everyone to remember their respective tasks. The most important goal is to find the existence of sacred source. That is our biggest goal. But it would be even better if we could easily hunt down the powerful men of Huaxu Kingdom. John Cardiles, the captain of the Hellocks, was lying on the chair with an indifferent smile on his face. Mr. Horn, don't worry. As long as I'm here, they will never be able to take away a hair from the sacred source. Horn has long been accustomed to Cardiles' tone of voice. He looked at Cardiles with a smile, but there may not be any hair on that thing. Then put my asterisk in there. Ha ha ha. Cardiles laughed wildly, but no one dared to criticize his vulgar jokes. On one side of the huge square table, a man wearing a western cowboy felt hat pressed the brim of his hat, looking lazy. But the 2 pistols decorated with gorse on his waist were particularly eye-catching. It's the middle of the 21st century, and it's really outrageous that there are still people using revolvers. What's even more outrageous is that the bearded man next to him actually has a huge compound bow behind him. The representatives of Neon, Silla and Maris sat upright and listened to Horn's speech honestly. In terms of strength, they are all sons of the Columbian Navy. This time I came here and was ordered to serve as a war assistant. Horn looked at them, his ice blue eyes filled with smile and warning. As for our foreign friends, first of all, thank you very much for coming. After this battle, no matter the outcome, your organization will receive military assistance and friendship from our Columbian Navy. For those who have made significant contributions, such as discovering the source of God, or killing enough foreigners from Huaxu Kingdom, we will reward them with a large amount of resources. Horn opened his arms. However, there is one thing I hope you will not forget. That is, once you discover the source of God, you must report it to me as soon as possible. The water in the source of God is too deep for you to grasp. The best choice is to leave it to our powerful Columbian Navy. The strangers from the other 3 countries did not dare to have any opinions and quickly nodded in agreement. With Cardiles here, to put it bluntly, if anyone really dares to take advantage of the source of God, even if he gets it, he will not survive in the end. No one who can come here is stupid and would not do such stupid things. But if there is a particularly suitable time, that is another matter. Okay, let's go. After Horn gave the order, these aliens immediately left the huge cruiser without any delay and landed on Star Island from the opposite direction to the aliens from Huaxu Kingdom. After the strangers left, Cardiles sat on the chairboard and picked his ears. Hey, do you need to go to such trouble? As long as I go there alone, I can kill them all. then the sacred source will be ours. Horn smiled and looked at the island country in the distance. Courtiers, don't underestimate your opponent. Although Xuanwu cannot land on the island to fight, once you set foot on land, your abilities will be weakened. You are the most powerful force in our ocean fleet, and you should not put yourself at risk. What you should do is, when we have a naval battle, use your ability to summon the tide of deep sea beasts, which is powerful enough. Cardiles curled his lips. That's really boring. He crossed his legs on the desk with a mischievous smile on his lips. If you don't let me go, won't I go? Let's wait until those guys are found first. Then, I will appear like a hero, and kill all those guys from Huaxu Kingdom. Zhang Yi set foot on the coast of Xingdao. Not far in front of us was a huge poisonous miasma that was tens of meters high and enveloped 6 cities. This gas comes from underground and is extremely toxic. If it enters without taking any safety measures, a normal human will die in half a minute. So naturally, since the end of the world broke out on Star Island, except for a few people who escaped, all the people in these 6 cities died. Zhang Yi put gas masks on both Huahua and Lel. Let's go, our hunting begins. Huahua's eyes also became excited. Can we finally take action? Listening to those people nagging me all the time is getting boring to death. Lel's voice also sounded loud and angry. Those guys, I feel like they all have bad intentions. I don't like them. Zhang Yi reached out and stroked their heads and said with a smile, you are right. There is no need to ignore them. It is enough for us to just believe in ourselves. He sometimes prefers animals to people. Lel, search for prey. Zhang Yi squinted his eyes and looked at the thick fog that was so thick that it was almost impossible to dissolve it. Okay, boss. Lel calls Zhang Yi his boss because Zhang Yi is not his master, but Zhang Yi is his master's boss. It moved its huge paws, its upper body crawled on the ground, and a faint light appeared from its eyes. Then, within a few kilometers, the breath of all living things poured into its nasal cavity without fail. A dog's nose is always more sensitive than a human's, especially a mutated devil dog, which is even more powerful at searching for prey. On the other hand, it has an excellent sense of direction. This allowed Zhang Yi to clearly identify the direction even without the help of the scouts, so as not to get lost in the depths of the fog. This is also the reason why Zhang Yi brought a hound with only gamma level to Star Island. Chapter 943. What I want is something others can't think of. Have you confirmed the direction? Are we going to head in the direction where they are? Zhang Yi stroked Lel's thick hair with one hand and asked with a smile. Woof. It should be in this direction. Its big nose arched toward the left front. Okay, then let's go. Zhang Yi opened the dimensional door with a wave of his hand, and then he, Huahua, and Lel disappeared directly into the poisonous mist. The next moment, they appeared somewhere ahead. After Lel confirmed the direction again, he pointed it to Zhang Yi, and then Zhang Yi walked in that direction. Lel's nose is very clever, and Zhang Yi's space shuttle can no longer be described as fast, but as a general displacement ability. This gave him a full advantage on the island. In a duel between strangers, it is particularly important to seize the opportunity. At this time, Zhang Yi will enter this huge fog earlier than others and carry out a hearty hunt. But at this time, in the command room inside Xuanwu's body, the expressions of Li Xianniang and others changed drastically. Through the positioning communication chip on each person, they can confirm their location in the 3D map model and communicate in real time. Originally, in their plan, all strangers who entered the poisonous miasma area would lose their direction, making it impossible to penetrate quickly. However, a strange and abnormal light spot appeared on the 3D map. In just a few minutes, it has traveled from the southeast of Jinfeng City to the northwest of Jinfeng City. Who is this? Is he crazy? Li Xianniang's eyes were shaking violently. The others also looked at each other in dismay. It seems it's the chaos in the Jiangnan region. Chaos? After Li Xianniang confirmed the person, his frown deepened. But he was more puzzled. We can clearly see from the map that the location of the foggy valley is in the center of the 6 cities. The poisonous miasma should also be emanating from there. But the direction that chaos is heading is not only not close to that area. On the contrary, it is further away and closer to the direction of the joined forces. Yes, it can be clearly seen on the map at this time that, although Zhang Yi is very fast, he is getting further and further away from the foggy valley. We even reached the area close to the landing of the coalition forces early. What the hell is he doing? Li Xianyang raised his head and glanced at Situzin, but Situzin was also puzzled. No one could understand Zhang Yi's intention. However, no matter how you look at it, Zhang Yi running into that position is a good thing for others. Because not only was he far away from the area where the source of God was, he was also the first to encounter the Colombian combined forces. A sneer appeared at the corner of Li Xianyang's mouth, and he thought to himself, it seems that he is a guy who likes to play personal heroism. Very good, just go and stop them. I will remember your contribution. Zhang Yi took Huahua and Lel to the northwest area of Jinfeng City. This place used to be very prosperous. Even though most of it is now buried by ice and snow and eroded by poisonous miasma, you can still see high-rise buildings standing like a steel forest. Zhang Yi searched nearby and saw the tallest building, which was an ideal sniping point. But he hesitated for a moment and gave up here. Instead, after changing targets several times, he found a building that was slightly taller, but not that obvious. He understands the commanding heights, and other strangers must also understand that it is too obvious and easily attracts attention. Zhang Yi brought Huahua and Lel to the building and hid in an office. The glass in this office is basically intact without much cracking, and there are many tables, chairs, benches, and documents inside. Zhang Yi leaned behind the window and set up his sniper rifle. Huahua lay on the dog's head, and Lel lay obediently in front of Zhang Yi, so that Huahua and Zhang Yi's heads could be on the same level. Master, why do we have to ambush here? If we wait like this, we don't know when the enemy will take the bait. Isn't it too much trouble? Zhang Yi calmly said to it. This time, all the people here are elites, and there are countless captains. None of them are stupid. Do you want me to take you? Take the initiative and jump out to hunt with great fanfare? Someone else? He touched the sniper rifle in his hand and narrowed his eyes with a smile. No one expected me to be here. No one thought that when everyone else was focused on seizing the source of God, I would come here to hunt down strangers. In this way, as long as someone appears in this area, he will be dead. Bang. One shot ends the battle. This is much simpler than a hard chase, and the risk is very low. Huahua lay lazily on Lel's head. You are the boss. You have the final say. Although it looks lazy, there is a fierce light flashing in its eyes from time to time. Both it and Lel are using the hunting instinct of beasts to search for all nearby creatures. That's right. From the very beginning, Zhang Yi's plan for this trip to Xingdao was different from others. The source of God. What it is. The two superpowers, as well as many medium-sized countries with considerable strength, participated in it. There were even 2 epsilon-level aliens holding the battle. The major forces mobilized almost all the top aliens that could be mobilized. In such an environment, they just want to fight for that source of God, and then become the target of public criticism. No matter how you think about it, the price/performance ratio is really too low. However, there is a resource that is no less important than the source of God, or even more important than the source of God, but others have passively ignored it. That is, the origin of the captain level alien. The source of God is equivalent to a key that can help people break through genetic limitations. But for Zhang Yi, this effect is not big. All he needs is the origin of enough powerful aliens or beasts. And how easy is it to encounter a captain level prey once? According to the normal speed to improve the strength, I don't know if I have to wait until the year of the monkey. But this time, the Battle of Star Island gave him an extremely huge opportunity. Let him hunt the aliens to his heart's content and obtain their origins. There are as many as 2 digits of captain level aliens here, and even more at the vice captain level. Taken together, it is definitely not something that can be compared to the source of a god. Instead of taking great risks, snatch the source of God under the eyes of the epsilon level aliens. It would be better to slaughter herds of cattle and sheep in this fog. This is why he chose not to bring anyone with him, but only Huahua and Lel to Star Island. They can very well help Zhang Yi search for prey. The alien companion will only become a problem for Zhang Yi when he hunts high level prey. I don't need the source of God. I can still become epsilon. There was a cold smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. As long as we hunt enough aliens, that's all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 944 Mind. No one could imagine Zhang Yi's crazy plan. There is no one like him who has enough strength and courage to do this. Because hunting down captain level people is meaningless to ordinary delta level aliens. They cannot break through by absorbing the captain level essence. In a sense, Zhang Yi is a wild epsilon. If he, like Xuanwu and other captains, chooses to join the high level leaders of the region, he will work for the other side wholeheartedly. Then, he will also be trained by the entire region with all efforts. Not to mention becoming epsilon. It is not impossible for his power index to surpass that of Cardiles and Xuanwu. But he didn't do that because he was Zhang Yi and he didn't want anyone to restrain him. Therefore, the power he wants can only be obtained through his own method. Zhang Yi's plan is very simple. The area covered by Foggy Valley is about square kilometers, which is roughly the area of 3 Xianhai cities. Without satellite navigation and the inability to use a compass, the alien will also become blind. Except for a very small number of aliens with special powers, they must rely on scouts for investigation, or spend a lot of time groping to find the location of Foggy Valley, and from Foggy Valley, determine the correct underground entrance to the source of God. This period of time will take at least a week, and this period of time is enough for Zhang Yi to hunt. Having Huahua and Lel means he has 2 extra pairs of eyes, 2 pairs of eyes that are far stronger than human eyes. 10 minutes later, Lel suddenly pricked up her ears. It said to Zhang Yi, "Boss, someone is coming, in that direction. It should be 13 people." Zhang Yi nodded and looked outside through the one-way glass of the window. A thick poisonous miasma enveloped everything around it, with a visual range of no more than 10 meters. He slowly closed his eyes, then opened them suddenly. A white light flashed in his eyes. The next moment, an invisible wave centered on him and began to spread in all directions. With him as the center, all spatial fluctuations within a radius of 3000 meters were accurately presented in his mind. Mind realm. Zhang Yixin realized the ability. As a top-level space system user, he has always been very sensitive to the fluctuations of space. After returning from the sea, his power has also been greatly improved, and his perception of space fluctuations has sharply increased. This also gave him a more powerful detective skill. Although it was an ability he had just realized, in Jinfeng City, which is full of poisonous miasma, the movement of any object would cause fluctuations in the poisonous miasma airflow, which would help Zhang Yi capture their location. Soon, Zhang Yi saw their location. He didn't even need to use his eyes to see where they were. Zhang Yi put his hand on Lei Shi's trigger and started aiming. Mind realm, search for enemies, and confirm their location. Precision shooting lock on. At this time, the joint forces that landed from the other side of Star Island were also divided into multiple teams to start operations. Here in Jinfeng City, the first to arrive was Silla's alien team. As a small country on the peninsula, Silla was originally weak and not worth mentioning after the end of the world. However, due to the presence of the Colombian garrison on the island, they were able to preserve their national identity. Therefore, after Douglas gave the order for this operation, they excitedly sent a group of the best aliens in the country to the battlefield to show their loyalty. Jinfeng City, appearing in this direction as Cui Yang Heo, the master of Huarangdo, with a power index of 7600 points, and the Taekwondo master known as the Spider God of War, has a superpower index of up to 8000 points. They led their disciples and scouts, and walked slowly through the poisonous miasma. Director Shen, the direction we have chosen is very safe, and is the furthest away from Foggy Valley. Presumably, strangers from Huaxu country will not pass by here. Cui Yang Heo smiled, and said to Chazexi next to him. Hearing this, Chazexi snorted disdainfully. What are the mere strangers from Huaxu kingdom to be afraid of? If I meet them, I must let them taste the power of my Taekwondo paradise destruction style. Upon hearing this, Cui Yang Heo smiled and nodded. That's right, my Huarangdo kicking skills are not a joke to them. The two masters were accompanied by their disciples and scouts sent by Silla. Because their overall strength was weak, Columbia did not place them in important battlefield areas. But I couldn't bear the overzealousness of the Silla people, and cried out to come and help. That's why they were asked to land in Jinfeng City first, and serve as the vanguard, to inquire about the situation on the island. Several scouts walked cautiously ahead. Since a compass cannot be used here, to judge the direction, and determine the location of Foggy Valley, they must rely on primitive and professional methods. For example, through ley lines, or referring to local landmarks. A scout looked at the map on the helmet display screen, looked left and right, and quickly found the most iconic tall building in Jinfeng City. He pointed there, and was about to say something. But suddenly, a sharp sound broke through the air. Puff. Blood splashed all over the sky. The scout's legs were still standing on the ground, and his entire upper body was shattered into powder. The two masters and their disciples who were still complimenting each other suddenly changed their colors. I didn't expect that there are enemies here. Be on guard now. Shezexi shouted in a low voice. Don't panic. Find the enemy in the dark. As soon as he finished speaking, his body underwent drastic changes. The body began to swell, the skin turned strangely black, and a large number of hard and shiny hair appeared. Crack. The Taoist uniform on his body was torn to pieces, revealing his terrifying appearance. It was a huge black spider over 3 meters tall and 5 meters long, with 8 thick arms. The densely packed compound eyes on his head actually have a 360-degree view, allowing him to see everything around him without any blind spots. Zhang Yi silently changed his ammunition. In his mental field, he can feel all moving human figures. However, he could not judge the opponent's strength, let alone see the opponent's appearance clearly. But none of this matters. They all have to die anyway. It doesn't matter who comes first, and who comes last. Boom. Another shot was fired, directly penetrating a distance of 3 kilometers, killing another person. This time it was Chazex's disciple who died. After Lei Shu was transformed, he was able to perfectly integrate with Zhang Yi's abilities. He can use the power of space to remove the powerful recoil of the sniper rifle and swallow up the explosion after the shot is fired. Therefore, the opponent could not judge his position through the sound of gunshots, and could only hear the sharp whine of bullets piercing the air. Chapter 945 Silla Team. 2 people had been killed. The cause of death was inexplicable, but they were all turned into rubbish. Lei Shu's power was too powerful, but Zhang Yi also judged from the effect of the sniper attack that the person he killed was not a powerful stranger. Because the strong ones who can come here will not be broken into pieces so easily. However, his sniper attack still left traces. The powerful impact directly drew a long and narrow trace in the poisonous miasma. The eyes on the head of the spider demon that Chazexi transformed suddenly captured the trajectory. It was there. He suddenly jumped into the air and hung on the wall of a tall building. Then, white spider silk was sprayed out from his tail, which hung on the wall and rippled in the direction of Zhang Yi. Cui Yang Heo's feet were very fast. When he realized that the opponent was a powerful sniper, his body turned into an afterimage and disappeared, and he found a building as a bunker. Spread out immediately, surround us in that direction, and find the sniper for me. Cui Yang Heo and Chazexi issued orders to all the strangers around them. His body is very huge, but with a spider silk as thick as a rope, he can swing very flexibly between tall buildings. Using the cover of the building, he quickly approached the building where Zhang Yi was hiding. There was only one thing Zhang Yi did, and that was to replace the bullets of Gujing Wubao. Silver bullets, holy silver bullets. The closer the distance, the stronger the insight into the mental realm. Zhang Yi closed his eyes, and he saw the huge spider approaching. Boom. With this shot, a huge cylindrical passage immediately appeared in the space in front of him, and all the poisonous miasma around it was stirred away. The spider demon's body was rippling in the air, and the next moment he felt a terrible death crisis envelope it. Puff. He was aware of the danger, but did not avoid the terrifying blow. A large transparent hole appeared on the spider shell, which was as dark as steel, and purple liquid gurgled out. The body of the spider demon was thrown away with the inertia. He looked at his body in shock. He could not accept it no matter what. His strong body was actually penetrated by a gun. But the heartbreaking pain reminded him that this was not an illusion, but a real injury. What? Chazixi cried out in pain. His huge body swayed in the air and hit a building. His screams made the others suddenly change their expressions. The battle had just begun, and one of their two leaders was seriously injured. Chazixi's body was very huge, and this blow did not kill him completely. He struggled and fell to the ground, his eyes filled with fear. That guy's not something we can deal with. He is too powerful. I must escape, otherwise, I will definitely die. Chazixi figured everything out in an instant, and planned to escape without hesitation, dragging his seriously injured body. But the next moment, a fishy wind hit from the side. Chazixi saw a giant beast covered in black steel-like hair, and with terrifying eyes approaching him. Huahe rushed over, and bit off his head in one bite, then started chewing it with relish. There were many strangers from Scylla nearby. Seeing this scene before me, my legs went numb. One of the two masters, Chazixi, the most famous alien in Scylla, was killed so easily, and became a meal for alien beasts. Get away from me. Cui Yang Heo, the master of Hwarangdao, roared angrily and rushed over. He twisted his body, obviously intending to fight, but his body swayed as if dancing. Along with the dance movements, he kicked his legs high, and a fierce whirlwind of energy came from his legs, cutting through the poisonous miasma and hitting Huahe. Huahe picked up Cui Yang Heo's body, and disappeared directly into the poisonous miasma. Cui Yang Heo's attack was easily dodged by it. Cats are top hunters, especially good at ambushing and killing. When it hides in the thick fog, humans have to worry about their necks at any time. Master, they are very weak. Zhang Yi received the signal sent by Huahe. After he heard the other party's Teligalu speaking in Scylla, he figured out who the other party was. It turns out they are from Scylla. No wonder they only have so little strength. Forget it, let's just treat you as an appetizer. The other party didn't even have a captain level figure, so it was really just for entertainment. Zhang Yi had no intention of going out to fight. Because this is the vanguard, what if he fights these people for a long time, and then higher level aliens from Columbia appear? Therefore, he just silently replaced Lei Shu with holy silver bullets, then locked the target and fired. This is a very boring hunt. A sniper with a power index of 9800 points hunts down a group of strangers with a power index of less than 8000 points. Zhang Yi shot one at a time, and no one could escape his sniper attacks. Once locked by him, it will be a certain death. Puff puff. Scylla strangers fell one after another. They originally planned to use the encirclement method to catch Zhang Yi hiding in the high-rise building. But before they even had time to take 10 steps, 3 of them were already reduced to rubble. Cui Yang Heo's expression changed drastically. He already knew that the other party was not on the same level as himself and others. Why can we meet such a powerful existence in Jinfeng City? Didn't they all go to Foggy Valley? Although he said this, he still jumped up in the air. His 2 strong thighs quickly rotated in the air, and then turned into a fierce wind. This attack was not aimed at the building in the direction of Zhang Yi, but at the poisonous miasma around it. The turbulent airflow surged out in all directions, and for a moment it was like a level storm. As he stirred, the poisonous miasma in all the surrounding spaces began to surge violently. A playful smile appeared on Zhang Yi's lips. You're very smart. You actually discovered the truth about my insight into the target. The essence of insight in the mind field is to discover the fluctuations of poisonous miasma in space, so as to confirm the existence of enemies within a 3-kilometer range. But Cui Yang Heo used the strong wind to directly disturb the poisonous miasma and influence his judgment. He is worthy of being Scylla's top alien, and his fighting ideas are very clear. But Cui Yang Heo didn't know that Zhang Yi didn't just have one pair of eyes. After Huahe and Lel determined their location, they entered the thick fog. 1 cat and 1 dog, one on the left and one on the right, determined the other party's position, and then conveyed to Zhang Yi through the communicator. Zhang Yi calmly changed the bomb, and then pulled the trigger again. Chapter 946 Penetration. Chapter 946 Run through. Cui Yang Heo was planning to take advantage of the chaos to escape, but he couldn't even take care of his disciples. Facing such a terrifying opponent, it is already very difficult for him to survive, so why should he care about anything else? But soon, his scalp became numb and his back felt cold. At this moment, he felt as if someone had pressed a sharp sword just 1 millimeter in front of his eyeballs. Run. Yang Heo decisively tried his best to run towards a building not far away. His leg skills are very powerful, so his ability to escape is also top-notch. Zhang Yi's bullet was aimed at him, but it missed him and grazed his scalp. Yang Heo ducked to the back of the building and felt a warm feeling on his head. When he reached out and touched it, he discovered to his horror that the bullet had just passed by his head, but a long and narrow scar had appeared on his head. Oh, you have some strength. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows, but he was not surprised. The opponent looks like a person with enhanced abilities, so it's not surprising that he has keen intuition and amazing speed. Don't worry, let's take our time. What should Zhang Yi be anxious about? He was here to hunt, and there were many prey in front of him for him to choose one by one. Yang Heo's breathing became rapid. He hid behind the building and began to calculate the escape route in his mind. There are 3 buildings between me and the sniper. As long as I don't run out, he can't hit me. But his bullets are too fast. I can't run away every time. So, how about a counterattack? The moment this idea appeared, Yang Heo immediately shook his head crazily. No, 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 that is the same as seeking death. At this moment, Yang Heo heard a cry. Master, are you alright? Several of his disciples ran over. Out of fear, their faces that had turned white due to plastic surgery now became even whiter. Several disciples of Shezixi also gathered around, and they placed all their hopes on Master Yang Heo. Yang Heo looked at them, and a good idea suddenly came to his mind. He said to these strangers, I have seen through his strength. He is just a stranger with long-range attacks. As long as we get close, he will turn into a lamb for us to slaughter. But now, I need to determine his location. His right foot was twisted on the ground, and half of it was stuck in the snow. Would it be so easy to kill my iron leg floating on the water? You helped me create opportunities to confirm his location. Then I have a unique skill that can get close to him instantly. Then kill him. Seeing Yang Heo's confident look, these strangers felt much more at ease. One disciple asked, but master, what do you want us to do? Yes, if you want us to do anything, just ask us. Yang Heo said in a deep voice, it's very simple. You spread out and move towards his location from all directions. Attract him to shoot. As soon as he shoots, I will confirm his position in an instant and then kill him. Hearing what Yang Heo said, all the disciples looked at each other with hesitation. They had already seen the opponent's strength and instantly killed Taekwondo Master Shezixi with one shot. If they go there, isn't it equivalent to committing suicide? Seeing everyone's hesitation, Yang Heo's face darkened and he scolded. How can you be called the elite of the Great Silla Republic if you don't even have this bit of courage? Have you forgotten your mission here? It is to show the courage and strength of our Great Silla Republic in front of other countries, so that they will not dare to look down upon us. If you don't dare to act, you will be killed one by the other party. Under Yang Heo's coercion and inducement, the disciples had no choice but to cooperate. At least they tried, and the probability of death wouldn't be too high. In the end, all the disciples had no choice but to agree and go shoot Yang Heo to lure the stranger. After everyone discussed it, they jumped out from behind the building in an instant. 7 or 8 people approached Zhang Yi's building from 7 or 8 different directions. Zhang Yi raised the corners of his mouth point. There was no need for a sniper rifle at all, but 2 white owls were taken out. Facing this level of aliens, a pistol is enough. The silver bullets cut through the thick poisonous miasma and actually produced wisps of sacred light in this hazy space. Zhang Yi's shooting speed was very fast. Under the 30-fold acceleration, the speed of his shooting was almost like after images. Poof, 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 poof. The disciples who attacked him were beaten to death one by one. The holy silver bullets penetrated their chests. The huge impact knocked them backwards and fell to the snow. Huata, who had been waiting secretly for a long time, quickly rushed over and cleared them away. And what about Yang Heo? He saw the death of his disciples, and the fear in his heart became more serious. But the threat of death made his body instinctively act quickly. The moment Zhang Yi fired, his legs turned into a gust of wind and he ran quickly along the building into the distance. He had already planned his marching route, and there were various buildings in the middle. The sniper couldn't take aim at him at all. Even if you take aim, you can't snipe. This Huarangdo master has no dignity of a strong man at this time, and is only thinking about how to escape. Run. What are you thinking? Zhang Yi sighed, and held Lei Shu again. Boom. Cui Yang Hao ran wildly into the distance. He wanted to go back to the small country that gave birth to and raised him. Although there are not many people there, Cui Yang Hao is a godlike existence there. Being flattered all the time made him think that he was already invincible. That's why he was so arrogant that when the Colombian Navy came to recruit, he volunteered to sign up. He originally wanted to dance to his heart's content on the stage of this great country and make his name as the master of Huarangdo famous all over the world. But he didn't expect that within an hour of setting foot on this battlefield, he would face the crisis of death. Forehead. Suddenly, Cui Yang Hao stopped. He lowered his head in astonishment and looked at his chest. There, bright red blood flowed out and soon turned into a seeping black due to the cold temperature. There, a hole the size of a bowl was opened. It was transparent from front to back, and light could even be seen. I was shot. Cui Yang Hao's mind was already blank. Why? He didn't understand that he had already planned his escape route, so he shouldn't be hit. But why didn't you escape? Cui Yang Hao slowly turned around, wanting to take a look at the enemy, and behind him, there was an extremely strange scene. The thick poisonous miasma was cut open, revealing the path of the bullet, which was a long and narrow passage. Behind him, there were bullet holes penetrating through a building. If he could look more carefully, he would find that bullet holes with the same path appeared among the dozen or so buildings between him and Zhang Yi. This blow, even though he thought he was very safe hiding behind the building. But he never expected that Zhang Yi could penetrate his body, even though he was separated by more than a dozen buildings. This is the strength of the top alien sniper. Cui Yang Hao slowly fell to his knees, and soon lost the breath of life. In the thick fog, a giant black beast came out, then bit Cui Yang Hao's body, and started eating in big mouthfuls. Chapter 947 Little Elf. Huahua and Lel gathered the bodies of the strangers together. Zhang Yi contacted the command center on Xuanwu and uploaded their images. Li Xianyang, Situzin and others were in the command center, quietly waiting for the battle to begin. However, at the beginning, the several forces were very cautious and usually did not conflict, so they didn't expect that news would come back so soon. Zhang Yi's message belt image was directly displayed in the center of the ring platform in the command center through a 3D screen. Zhang Yi asked calmly, "Can these people confirm their identities?" Little did he know how much this behavior shocked everyone. Situzin's eyes lit up, and his mouth almost broke into a smile. The attitude shown by the Donghae region has always been disdain for the strength of the Jiangnan region. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yi showed his hands so quickly and saved their face. Even Xuanwu couldn't help, but walked over and blinked curiously. Oh, it turns out to be chaos. This guy's strength is very good. Li Xianyang frowned somewhat dissatisfied. The men were quickly identified. The official responsible for battlefield statistics and reporting said, "Chaos, these people are from Silla." The one who confirmed their identity is Cui Yang Hao, the master of Huarangdo in Silla. The superpower index is 7600 points. And Taekwondo Master Chazixi, codenamed Spider Demon, with a power index of 8000 points. The strength of other aliens is below 6000 points. We have completed the statistics of your record. You can redeem the rewards after you come back. Zhang Yi nodded. Okay, I understand. With that, he ended communication with the command center. Li Xianyang saw the smile on Situzin's lips, snorted coldly, and deliberately raised his voice and said, "They're just low-level aliens from Silla. He's the #1 master in the Jiangnan region. It's no big deal if he kills so many of them." Situzin nodded with a smile. "What you said is true, and I feel the same way. To be honest, I'm also looking forward to seeing the performance of the Donghae region. The muscles on Li Xianyang's face moved and finally turned into a cold snort. Simple and beautiful words. Are you really treating these two strangers like trash? Even if the combat power is only 7,600 and 8,000 points, he is already a master in the alien field and is a deputy captain in a large area. And Zhang Yi cleanly eliminated them within half an hour at the beginning of the battle. If this is not strength, what is it? The Colombian Navy Command Center also received information that a team from Silla was completely wiped out at the beginning of the war. But no one took it to heart. Because the strength of this team as a whole is not strong. Their core focus is still on other areas, especially the members of Hellocks. Zhang Yi searched these people's supplies. As for Cui Yang Heo and Chazixi, they were fed directly to Huaha. Lel looked on with envy. Hey, it would be great if I could also swallow evolution. It had a sad look on its face and sighed. Zhang Yi patted its big head. This is your fate. Accept the reality. After this mission is over, I will prepare a super large portion of dog food for you. Wang. Huaha finished cleaning up the corpses of these aliens, and Zhang Yi took the remains into the alien space to avoid leaving them outside and attracting the attention of others. After cleaning the scene, he took Huaha and Lel and moved immediately. They should disperse their operations. Since someone is here, there won't be a second team in a short time. Let's go. Our hunting operation has just begun. Zhang Yi and Huaha jumped on Lel. The devil dog sniffed, keenly observing everything around it, and then after confirming a direction, it began to run quickly towards that direction. In Baeta City on Star Island, a group of Colombian scouts were fully armed and moving forward cautiously. They moved at a leisurely pace, trying to observe everything around them. And from time to time, he has to use the pre-apocalyptic map to confirm the surrounding buildings and determine his own position. Their mission is to lead the way for the alien troops. After confirming the correct direction, leave a marker. More than a dozen Colombian soldiers cooperated with each other tacitly, not sparing any prominent landmarks around them. As a soldier passed an abandoned building, his device suddenly captured a burst of crisp laughter. The scout suddenly became cautious. He once again determined the source of the laughter and made sure that he had not heard wrongly. The source of the sound was obvious. It was in the building next to him. There would be no auditory hallucinations, because the capture equipment on his body clearly gave him a clue. The scout raised the assault rifle in his hand and slowly walked towards the ruins. When he stepped into the ruins, the sight before him made him widen his eyes. He saw a little elf jumping happily on top of the ruins. Yes, it's an elf. Because he could make a judgment without any hesitation. It was definitely not any kind of animal that had ever existed in the world. The little yellow elf is not even as tall as a calf. It has a long body with limbs and a long head, like a banana with arms and legs. But it looked so cute, jumping around among the broken walls of the ruins, humming a song that was incomprehensible but refreshing. The scout was stunned for a moment, but soon he told the captain of the scout team the news. Soon, this group of scouts arrived among the ruins. When they saw the elf, they were all stunned, because the sight in front of them was something they had never seen before. But so many people suddenly appeared, and it seemed that someone had exposed their existence, causing the elf to become alert. It jumped up and down and quickly ran towards the depths of the ruins. Quick, follow it. The scouts had a vague feeling that this elf was related to the target they were looking for. They chased the elf in the direction of his escape without hesitation. As I chased him deep into the ruins, the sweet and crisp magical sound in my ears became louder and louder. After a while, they tracked down a collapsed pit, which was the basement of a building. These scouts looked at everything in front of them, and they were all stunned. Wherever you look, a bright yellow warmly illuminates the large space in the basement. There are actually hundreds of those yellow, cheerful little elves here. They were chirping and jumping happily, seemingly not caring about the uninvited guests. Oh, my god. The captain of the investigation team couldn't help but said, "Is this paradise?" Chapter 948 Mysterious and Terrifying. Those cute elves, those jumping elves, are lively and cute, exuding a warm yellow light. This is a magical creature that only exists in fairy tales and legends. The reconnaissance force transmits the images in front of them to the Colombian Naval Command Center in real time. Major General Graham Horn's eyes widened with excitement. There is such a magical creature? John Cardyle's joked from the side, "Don't be too happy, maybe it's a mouse mutation." As soon as he finished speaking, an unusual picture appeared in the image. Those cute little elves had completely attracted the attention of the reconnaissance troops. None of them noticed that something huge came out of the shadows. 2 big feet came out of the darkness and stepped on the ground. A scout raised his head and saw what was in front of him. He couldn't help opening his mouth wide and then murmured, "So cute." It was a giant beast that was 3 meters tall. It was furry, but its whole body exuded aqua blue brilliance. It looks like a huge stuffed toy, with big eyes, a chubby body, and 2 antlers on its head. I believe that no woman in this world can resist its temptation. But this lovely mysterious creature just smiled brightly at them. Then it suddenly opened its mouth, an unimaginably huge mouth PFFT, and bit off half of a scout's body. Everyone was stunned. Those scouts were immersed in this beauty just now. They did not expect that such a cute creature would suddenly kill people. "Shoot, shoot." The captain reacted first, raised his rifle and started shooting. But the bullets had no effect on the magical creature. It opened its big mouth, but the inside was not as cute as its appearance. It was densely packed with sharp teeth. A long scarlet tongue popped out of the mouth, covered in disgusting mucus. Puff. Its tongue swept across the air, and the bodies of all the scouts in front of it were cut in half from the middle, and then plop, plop, fell to the ground in pieces. The yellow elves on the ground jumped up happily, opened their mouths, exposed their sharp teeth, and started to gnaw. Everyone in the Navy's command center looked solemn when they saw this scene. Is there such a terrifying creature in the depths of the poisonous miasma? It was going so fast, I didn't even catch it. An alien officer took a deep breath. Its strength is definitely at the delta level, and it's also a high level delta. If there are many such creatures on this island, then our biggest threat in this operation may not be just the alien troops of Huaxu Kingdom. Zhang Yi eliminated the Scylla team without much effort. Soon, he decided to change his position and look for new prey. There are strangers taking action in the 6 cities of Star Island. He is not in a hurry and takes his time step by step, because among the strangers who came on this trip, there were also beings with particularly outstanding strength. He needed to take those prey seriously. At the same time, you must ensure your own absolute safety. In such an environment, Huahua and Lel, 2 wild beast friends, provided him with huge help. The news of the destruction of the Scylla team reached the ears of every stranger in the joint force. They knew that there were aliens from Huaxu Kingdom in the northeast of Jinfeng City. However, Zhang Yi had already gone to another place at this time, and the enemy did not know his location at all. Moreover, after his first success, Zhang Yi became more familiar and began to move closer to the landing of the joint forces. Instead of approaching the center, start from the edges and slowly close the circle. He will not rush directly into the enemy's formation recklessly and fight against the many powerful combat powers of the Hellocks. But he knew that the other party, like them, would slowly take scattered actions. Sooner or later, someone will be left alone. Zhang Yi established his sniping point in another direction of Jinfeng City. If you land from Kanho City and go to the central area of Kirishima, you must go southwest. So he stayed on this inevitable path. After waiting for several hours, sure enough, Lel reminded him again. "Boss, someone has appeared in the north." Zhang Yi heard this and put his hand on the sniper rifle. Number of people, distance. Lel carefully closed her eyes to investigate, her black nostrils opening and relaxing. The number of people is probably between 10 and 20. The distance is more than 5 kilometers. Fine, I see. Zhang Yi opened his mental realm and then quietly waited for the enemy to arrive. In the distance, coming from the north is a team of strangers from the Marais Kingdom. The team was led by one of the strongest men in the 2 major forces of the Marais, Ken and Saavedra. Because the destruction of the Scylla team served as a precedent, the alien team in Malay Kingdom increased their vigilance. They chose to avoid that area and then slowed down their operations. Saavedra believes that their area of operations is more than 20 kilometers away from where the stranger from Scylla was killed. And in such a dense mist environment with poisonous miasma, it is impossible for the murderer to arrive here in a short time. Compared to the Scylla people, they were much more cautious and cherished their lives. Saavedra said to the strangers under his command, "We are not as good as Colombia and Huaxu. This action is just to gain the friendship of Colombia. So there is no need to go all out. Remember the principles of our actions and cooperate with Colombia's hellocks. As long as we're careful enough not to go deep into the core area, there's no danger." Next to him, another stranger Elbat questioned, "But how did Silla's team be destroyed?" Hearing this, Saavedra frowned slightly, then straightened his brows and said, "Perhaps they were unlucky and met a foreigner from the Huaxu kingdom who had just landed on the island. Or, a meaningful smile appeared on his face, "It was done by my own people." Bart was a little surprised when he heard this. "One of our own." Saavedra said calmly, "Silla people and Neon people have always been at odds with each other. With the ruthless style of Neon's group of wolves, it is really possible that they will take the opportunity to attack behind their backs." When it came to the Neon man, Saavedra's eyes became much more cautious. "Those guys are the ones I least want as companions. You never know what vicious actions they will do." Hearing this, the strangers around him nodded, agreeing very much with Saavedra's view. Puff. After a crisp sound, Elbart exploded into a ball of blood mist. Chapter 949 Smoke. Elbart's sudden death caught the entire Mary's team by surprise. Before they could even react, two more strangers fell to the ground one after another. Half of one person's body was directly blown to pieces, and another person had a big hole in his chest. Enemy attack. The Malay strangers immediately dispersed. Saavedra stood motionless, but frowned deeply. What a powerful enemy. I didn't even feel the speed of his attack. Their team of aliens includes many top Malay masters. For most aliens of their level, snipers are of little use. The speed of bullets is not as fast as their reaction speed. However, this time, they didn't notice it until the bullets shattered everyone. This is a terrible enemy. Saavedra understood that this person was probably the powerful stranger who killed the Silla team. Saavedra opened his mouth and blew out a long stream of white smoke. Chase. He gave orders to the aliens around him. According to the law of conservation of alien abilities, aliens with strong long-range means usually do not have overly strong melee capabilities, unless the opponent is an alien whose level is much higher than them. However, Saavedra believes that Jinfeng City is the farthest away from Wubu, so the people who appear here are just the strangers responsible for delaying the opponent, not the main force. In this case, they will have a chance to counterattack their opponents. Saavedra made a sign of encirclement and suppression. Immediately there were two heavily armed enhanced aliens, their muscles bulging out like lightning, running towards the direction of the bullets, one on the left and the other on the right. An alien took out the sniper rifle from behind and instantly completed the actions of raising the gun, opening the safety and aiming. "It's so obvious. What an amateur sniper." A hint of sarcasm appeared at the corner of his mouth, and then he pulled the trigger. A powerful energy wave instantly penetrated the thick fog and went in the direction of Zhang Yi's bullet. Boom. 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 3 bullets. The sharp sound of breaking through the air sounded almost at the same time. Before the two strangers who wanted to surround Zhang Yi and the sniper who raised his gun realized what had happened, only the remains of their bodies were left, turning into a mist of blood. Zhang Yi frowned. Why are the aliens who appear here so weak? Aliens below the captain level are only worthy of being used as cat food. Saavedra originally formulated a battle plan and planned to capture the alien. However, suddenly, the tragic death of a stranger next to him made his pupils shrink. Spike. That sniper is easier to kill the people around him than a chicken. Could it be that I guessed wrong? The person the other party arranged to hunt us is a top alien. Before he could finish his murmuring, the familiar sound that broke through the air struck him again and then penetrated his chest. Saavedra lowered his head and looked at his chest. There was a big hole there, but the next moment, a proud smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's a pity that this kind of attack is ineffective against me. There was no blood flowing out of the huge hole in his chest, because his body is slowly turning into white mist. Kenan Saavedra has the ability, Smoke. Codename, Haleogan, and his trace alien. His body was penetrated, but he did not suffer any harm. Saavedra laughed and said, "It's your greatest misfortune that the sniper met me." He laughed wildly, his voice getting louder and louder, spreading out as the poisonous miasma spread, and his body quickly turned into smoke. hiding in the rich poisonous miasma. Zhang Yi felt all this and raised his eyebrows. Oh, another very interesting special ability user. Among all aliens, if the enhancement type is the simplest and crudest existence, then the trait type is the most elusive. Because their abilities are simply impossible to guess or figure out. Huahe has transformed, and she and Lel are staring around. They knew that the enemy that turned into smoke could attack from any direction at any time. Zhang Yi raised his sniper rifle unhurriedly. Let's clear the place first and then talk. Several more rounds of origin were ejected, and 3 strangers from the Maris kingdom fell to the ground. Low-level aliens are almost no different from ordinary people in such a battlefield, and they are not even qualified to be cannon fodder. However, Savadra is no cannon fodder. Huahe suddenly let out a sharp cry. It turned its head, opened its mouth and let out an atomic breath that penetrated the space. A ghastly laughter echoed in the air. Savadra's figure slowly emerged in the air, but it was transformed by smoke. Huahe's attacks were of no use to him. A traitor is immune to physical attacks, right? Zhang Yi took his time and fired 3 holy silver bullets from Beizao with his backhand. The bullet cut through the smoke, but directly blew away the smoke, and the smile on Savadra's face remained. Can't the holy silver bullet also work? Zhang Yi whispered. His attack stopped, but Savadra's attack began. He casually threw his right hand forward, and more than a dozen clouds of smoke turned into balls and flew towards Zhang Yi, Huahe, and Lel. The dozens of smoke balls left his hand and quickly turned from white smoke into real grenades. Boom. The entire floor, where Zhang Yi was located, was shattered in an instant, flying away, and the tall cement pillars also began to break. Zhang Yi waved his hand and the smoke dissipated. All the power of the explosion was swallowed up by him. Then he moved his right hand slightly forward and returned all the power to Savadra. However, he only blew away the smoke. Soon Savadra's laughter sounded around again. Give it, it's useless. You can't kill me, you can't kill me. His head emerged from the poisonous miasma again, and his huge hooked nose gave people an extremely sinister feeling. His eyes were equally sinister. Then let me kill you slowly. Savadra's abilities are not particularly powerful. But in Kirishima, this poisonous miasma that covers the sky is the perfect environment for him to perform. So much so that, even if he encounters a powerful captain-level stranger, he can still take the initiative on the battlefield. Pop, 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 pop. In the poisonous miasma, clouds of smoke transformed into human shapes. Soon, an army formation of 100 smoke soldiers surrounded Zhang Yi, Huahe, and Lel. In their hands were smoke weapons, firearms, rocket launchers and grenades. Then they started bombarding Zhang Yi and the others indiscriminately. The mist that was originally smoke turned into real weapons as soon as they got close to Zhang Yi and the others. Zhang Yi also immediately realized that one of the opponent's abilities was to materialize the mist into a truly lethal weapon. Although it looks very bluffing, its power is meager. Zhang Yi directly launched the 2-realm knot, and all the power erupted from the weapons was swallowed up. In principle, it's still your own superpower, it just changes the way you attack. It's all fancy and meaningless. Zhang Yi said with a sneer. Chapter 950 Devour One All. Chapter 950 Devouring Everything. Seeing that his offensive methods were ineffective, Savadra couldn't help but restrain his arrogant smile. Invalid attack, right? Then how about you try this trick? He opened his mouth wide and took a sharp breath. All the poisonous miasma around him began to rush towards him crazily and was finally swallowed fiercely by him. The poisonous miasma in the surrounding area was evacuated, and Savadra's body expanded rapidly, turning into a giant more than 10 meters tall. His right hand condensed a huge rocket launcher, and his left hand condensed a large cannonball more than 3 meters long. Then he aimed at Zhang Yi's feet and fired fiercely. Zhang Yi saw that his attack method was actually a weapon with supernatural powers. The size of the volume represents the strength of the attack power. So, there is no need to hardwire it. Under the 30-fold acceleration, Zhang Yi reacted very quickly and chose to use space shuttle to avoid this attack. Huahe and Lel's reaction speed was no slower than Zhang Yi's, and they jumped far away in advance. The cannonball landed in the building and exploded the next moment. The entire building was blown to pieces, rubble flew, and a huge mushroom cloud slowly rose over the ruins. At this time, Zhang Yi had already arrived behind Saavedra. The right hand of the Holy Inquisitor swept across, and a huge blade of void aimed at his head and slashed hard. But when this huge void blade passed by Saavedra's body, he changed from a solid body to a smoke form, causing almost no damage. Didn't I say it before? This level of attack has no effect on me. Saavedra sneered and turned around. The huge barrel in his hand turned into a submachine gun, and bullets shot towards Zhang Yi like a rain of light. Every bullet that comes close to Zhang Yi will turn into a super bullet with powerful lethality. The gate of the dimension. Zhang Yi casually opened the dimensional door and completely swallowed up these attacks. Then he backhand opened the second dimensional door beside Saavedra and reflected the attack back to him. But no matter what Zhang Yi did, he could not kill Saavedra in the form of smoke. As Saavedra said, his ability is unique in this poisonous miasma and is almost difficult to kill. Saavedra looked at Zhang Yi coldly. You are very strong. It can be seen that you should be the first-class strongman in Huaxu Kingdom, right? But why do you appear here instead of fighting for the source of God? A sneer appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. Everyone here carries communication equipment, but Zhang Yi will not take the initiative to open it unless necessary. The other party may also pass the intelligence collected here to the command center of the Colombian Navy. Therefore, he would not answer any of Saavedra's questions. Ask Satan. 2 silver grenades appeared in Zhang Yi's left hand, and he aimed them at Saavedra and threw them. Saavedra sneered. Didn't I say it before? Physical attacks to me are. Before he could say the words useless, an extremely dazzling silver light burst out in front of him. Saavedra's body was riddled with holes and his body began to shrink. This thing is a weapon that can be effective against aliens? Saavedra immediately realized the nature of the weapon. It's not that the holy silver bullets are useless to him, but because he is in the form of smoke, his body is too huge, and the loss of part of his body will not have much impact. However, the grenade Zhang Yi used was a weapon that was more expensive and more effective than the holy silver bullets. The holy silver grenade. The cost of a holy silver grenade is approximately equal to 100 holy silver bullets, but it is more suitable than holy silver bullets for dealing with opponents whose single target damage is ineffective. Saavedra said sullenly, it hurts so much. He suddenly narrowed his eyes and laughed. It's like being bitten by a mosquito. He turned around and fell directly into the huge poisonous miasma behind him. Laughter once again surrounded me from all sides. Zhang Yi's eyes swept across the surrounding space coldly. Saavedra is hidden within the miasma, and his location cannot be determined at all. Moreover, there is no way to effectively attack him. An ability with a power index of more than 8,000 points will cause me more trouble here than a stranger with a power index of 9,000 points. Zhang Yi couldn't help but sigh. This is why, even with a power index of 9,800 points, he still has to hunt with caution. Huahua and Lel jumped next to Zhang Yi, bared their teeth, and stared at the surroundings with fierce expressions. They are so keen that they can directly detect that Saavedra is around. However, he is not in one place, but everywhere. In this way, even they don't know how to effectively kill each other. What a damn bug. Huahua cursed fiercely. Saavedra was hidden in the poisonous miasma, and she was worried in her heart. The opponent is obviously stronger than him. Although the opponent cannot cause fatal damage to him, he cannot hurt the opponent. He knew he had caught a big fish. In the fog, he solidified the smoke, formed a communicator, and then contacted the Colombian Navy Command Center. I found a powerful foreigner from the Huaxu Kingdom here. I can pinpoint their location. Please send people over quickly to surround and kill him. Naval Command Center. After Graham Horn got the news, he frowned immediately. He held his chin in one hand, puzzled. Why are the aliens from the Huaxu Kingdom heading towards the area on the edge of the poisonous miasma? And they also want to take action against the alien troops from Scylla and Marais? Doing so is meaningless in obtaining the source of God. At this time, a naval officer next to him, Maker Kaludi, said, perhaps he is on a hunt. Hunting? Everyone around him looked at him. At this time, Cardiles was not on the warship. He was bored and didn't know where to go, so he went to find a female officer for entertainment. As a result, the atmosphere in the command center became much more relaxed. Kaludi looked at the three-dimensional map and calmly pointed to the area where Savadra was. Within one day, the other party attacked our joint forces alien team twice in succession. This was obviously targeted and not accidental. So I think the other party's purpose may be to hunt down the aliens in our joint force, rather than looking for the sacred source of matter. The most likely possibility is that they have formed a division of labor. Some people harass us, while others are responsible for finding the sacred source. After hearing this, Horn thought calmly, if the other party really has such a purpose, then he seems stupid enough. Even if he wants to interfere with us, there is no point in just killing some weak people in such a remote direction. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.